you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
You live here?
Yes.
Well, maybe you know what a zombie is. When a person dies and is buried, it seems there's certain voodoo priests who have the power to bring him back to life.
Oh, horrible.
It's worse than horrible because a zombie has no will of his own. You see them sometimes walking around blindly with dead eyes, following orders, not knowing what they do, not caring.
You mean like Democrats?
Mic drop. Hey, good evening, everybody. You're listening to Smith Radio. Your host, Brian Smith and
Kerry Smith.
Giving you all the late breaking news of last week, wrapping it all up. And I have got a ton of unreported information that is going to blow your mind. You thought Donald Trump was making America great again? He's doing it at such breakneck speed, he don't even know he's making it so great again. Unbelievable, Donald Trump. Check it out, folks. If you're following us on Twitter, at Brian P. Smith, SMYTH, or Kerry, at Smith Radio on Twitter, you would have seen that I retweeted Donald Trump's tweet just a few hours ago, giving huge props to Megapill, megapill.com.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Tracking Donald Trump at every turn since the inauguration. I'm telling you what, folks, I've got a lot of information on that, and I've been preaching that everything's going in the right direction, and you're going to find that out today. We got the DNC on the verge of bankruptcy. We've got scandal-laden DNC. The scandals you've never heard about, 24 of them that happened in 2017, 19 of them happened in the month of November.
Wow.
That's almost one a day if you take out the holidays. We've got all kinds of stuff coming out of the news. Mainstream media, the sick bias news is actually coming out against the Clintons. Believe they're in a death spiral right now. George Soros holding events to help try and prop up the DNC as they're falling apart. GOP setting records. And John McCain. If we even get to that. And I got this thing. You know how they just released the JFK files?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I got this thing about that. And I've mentioned it before. It had to do with John F. Kennedy Jr. and his mysterious airplane crash.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
I got some other stuff. Even Salon.com agrees with me.
Oh, gosh. You do know what Salon is. For those of you listening out there, Salon.com is one of those... There's, Vox is kind of that way. Mother Jones, and then Salon. That's like the trifecta of pure communist, anti-American, anti-everything, anti-freedom, anti-humanity.
Oh my God!
Propaganda you'll ever see. They will never be happy until there are death camps and there is mass genocide of conservatives. That's the only way they're happy.
I hate to say that you're right, but I think you're right.
I mean, you just got to read their stuff, and you realize that these people are diabolical. So if they're agreeing with you, that almost sounds like a bad thing. It's got to be a bad thing, right? But no,
you would think.
But things are so bad, even they can't deny it anymore, right?
Especially when it comes out against the Clintons.
Oh,
it's
my
against
goodness.
the Clintons, and Salon.com is in our camp. Almost unbelievable. So, folks, if you're following us right now, or if this is the first time you've been on the Scope, crush the share button so you can share this Scope with your friends and your family. Crush the follow button so you can get all the notifications. Make sure I don't know if this one has a bell where you have to actually turn it on like YouTube now.
Oh, I got to give you a congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
You titled the show. Oh, I was going to tell you. People are going to want to know what I'm congratulating you for. So Brian has this thing. Hate to interrupt his introduction. He's got this thing where he always, and the reason I'm able to share this with you is because everybody listening is going to be able to relate. So I'm going to throw him under the bus real quick. Sorry, Brian. He always makes the title too long on Periscope. So when you go to try to share it, it has the little red negative numbers, and you have to delete characters in order to share it, or else it won't share. So congratulations to Brian, because I'm just now seeing as I share the Periscope that I don't have to delete characters. So thank you so much, Brian.
And the frustrating part is that I never know how many characters I'm allowed because Periscope actually adds on the words.
That's right.
Listened live on Periscope. That's a lot of letters.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And now we're up to, 140 caricatures?
Well, here's the thing. No, it's up to 280 now.
280.
But
280.
that's on Twitter. I don't think that counts for
Periscope.
I may be wrong about that. Like, now I feel like I can write an entire full paragraph with the 280 characters. So that's really nice. With the 140 characters, I felt like all words that could be abbreviated were. Like, for instance, our, O-U-R, is just abbreviated to the letter R. U, Y-O-U, would always be abbreviated to the letter U. O-N-E would be abbreviated to the number 1. So anytime you could abbreviate, like even the word any would be the letters N-E.
Oh, no way, dude.
Yeah, like that's how bad it was, because I really wanted to get War and Peace in my tweets. Right. And now that I have 280 characters, I find myself like, well, gosh.
I ran out of time. Like, I got more to spend.
Well, yeah, let's just go ahead and throw some more in there.
Yeah.
So I do that, and I'm getting a little abusive with it. But
and something else, folks, back to the intro. If you're following us for the very first time and you like Donald Trump, you think you voted for him and you want to confirm your notion of why you voted for him, we here on Smith Radio have fact, not fiction. We expose the deep state. We expose the fake news media that's out there, the sick bias that is all over the place. You come here for the real news. Come here for the real information. With that being said, if you know somebody that likes Donald Trump or voted for Trump or just is an all-around patriot to America, just in general, or maybe he's just a happy person, share the show with them.
You mean gay?
Yes. If they are absolutely flamboyantly gay.
Yeah, totally happy.
I mean, skip to my Lou, my darling.
Well, whenever you listen to Smith Radio, you're going to have a gay old time.
Yes, that's a fact.
Just like the Flintstones.
That's a fact. And again, if this is your first time, I was in the Air Force during the 90s, during Desert Storm, and Carrie was in the Marine Corps during the 90s. During same time Desert Storm, but towards the end of it, we got
our little national defense ribbon,
right,
the little red and the yellow,
the
like little vertical stripes on it, yeah.
Right. So if you went in the military and the war wasn't technically over, everybody still got ribbons for being involved in it, and we come at you with a different flavor, if you will. I mean, we've been doing this. Carrie and I have been talking on the phone for probably about 14 years now. We're cousins, and so it's it's easy to just pick up the phone and start talking, but we didn't realize that when we got to talking that our conversations would go epic long, like 3 to 5 hours, annoying the hell out of our wives. So we decided, because we were documenting the demise, the fall of Rome, if you will, the fall of America from Obama's inauguration.
And, well, you say that because it was during the Obama administration.
Right.
Yeah. We this is a totally different show now. It's like we're oozing with euphoria. Really, seriously.
If you go back on smithradio.info or even just smithradio.com, and you can scroll down the middle of the page, scroll down through all the shows. And by the way, if you want to catch up on Donald Trump's tweets, there's a live Twitter feed of Donald Trump on our website, smithradio.com.
Cool.
And so you could go back through all the shows. If you go back when we first started this in 2013, 2014, if you go back that far, they might not be really happy shows.
Well, I didn't even know, because I haven't really gone back to kind of just re-listen to them. But Brian assures me they were pretty negative.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. You guys know how it was. Trump wasn't even on the horizon. We had no idea. We just figured they're going to throw Jeb Bush out there. They're probably going to throw Mitt Romney back out there for a second go. And of course, McCain and all these. We just thought they were going to throw all these people out there. And they did. But little did we know that there was a dark horse.
Yes, a dark horse indeed. So we got super, super excited knowing that Trump was running for president, and then
Coming to the rescue.
yeah, we jumped on the bandwagon really, really early and realized this is what we needed. We needed someone that, one, it was not afraid of the media whatsoever, and two, wasn't going to kowtow down to them and just speak his mind. As brash and unfiltered as it was, it felt good to see the media get a tongue lashing they so deserved for the past, I don't know, decades? How long has it been that we have felt that they've needed a tongue lashing?
Do you hear some noise? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that me? Oh, it's outside. Okay.
Okay.
Both of us are sorry about that. We got a little distracted. We were hearing a buzzing, and we thought it was coming from inside our electronics, but no, that's coming from outside. Something really loud going on. Okay, sorry about that.
Make sure you scoot back.
Oh, okay.
The mic. Anyway, so let's get started right. We'll jump right into it. Time Magazine Person of the Year Award.
Oh, this
Donald
is interesting.
Trump, 2016.
This is an interesting story because it seems so trivial, and I've had a lot of people I saw, I read from the left and I heard from the right. I guess we should tell them the story in case they didn't hear. Do you have the tweets up and ready?
I have what he tweeted out. Yes.
Yes. So what did he tweet?
Donald Trump tweeted out, Time Magazine called to say that I was probably going to be named Person of the Year. And he said man and then parentheses person, because it's called the Person of the Year Award.
Well, Time Magazine is a very old publication.
Right.
And back before women were citizens.
Or even considered human.
Right, before they were human beings, Time Magazine used to have a thing called the Man of the Year. And it wasn't until somebody said, hey, this is a little bit misogynistic and a little bit, we need to probably maybe think about maybe making a woman a Man of the Year. And
right.
and if we do that and it's not Michelle, we need to replace man with...
Well, see, Obama would be the Woman of the Year and Michelle would be the Man of the Year.
So they decided to go with Person of the Year, and so
you don't want to get that confused.
Right. So they went with Person of the Year, and that's why they called me. But he put Man of the Year because Donald Trump's 70 years old, and he's been heavily involved with everything his entire life. So you go all the way back to the old school days of when, he lived that old school era. And that's why he ran on Making America Great Again, because he remembers how great America was.
Right. No, absolutely.
And I'm not saying that America fell because we stopped calling it Man of the Year and Person of the Year, but I digress. So he says he was called by Time Magazine.
Right. And Time Magazine also had Earth of the Year.
And here's the interesting thing.
Sorry.
Earth of the Year? You mean Planet of the Year?
Planet of the Year, something.
I don't know.
So, no, he said Man of the Year award like last year, but I would have to agree to an interview and a major photo shoot. I said probably is no good and took a pass. Thanks anyway.
Right. Well, he made it sound like, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but didn't he make it sound like it was an ultimatum?
Yeah, you had to do an interview and you had to do an extensive photo shoot in the middle of him making America great again.
It is the Spies Like Us moment where he said, can you hold my wallet for me? There's $100 in there. Or maybe there isn't. And he was handing, for those of you that don't know about Spies Like Us, he was taking a government test, a really important one for big promotion. And he didn't study for the test.
No,
he
not at
knew
all.
he was going to do very poorly. Yeah. So he tried to bribe the test giver by giving him his wallet and saying there's $100 in there, or maybe there isn't.
He pulled a John McCain with a fake broken arm.
Oh, yeah, that he did. He was hiding all of his cheat sheets and everything. But anyway, so that doesn't it sound like that? Like, hey, we're thinking about you're probably going to be Man of the Year, or maybe you aren't. But we're just gonna maybe you want to give us an interview and a photo shoot. Probably make you Man of the Year. Probably. We'll say what do you say? Maybe. What do you say?
We just need you to give us your time.
That's almost what they said. Is what it sounds like. Now, mind you, we're reporting what Donald Trump is telling us. And if you're on the left, he's definitely lying because that's what you believe when you're on the left.
That's what he always has lied. I mean, if you read the Washington Post, the article was Donald Trump's missteps, misleading, and lies 1,236 times in 9 months.
And every time I'm like, name one. Name a lie. And you should too. Every time you're on Twitter, or every time, like this past weekend, we had Thanksgiving, or this weekend actually, and if you were with your family and we got Christmas coming up and you probably go home for the holidays and you run into these libs, that's what you need to do. You know, back in the George W. Bush days, I had that first moment where a family member that, Brian, I'm not going to toss this person under the bus.
No, we normally don't.
Said, so, what do you think about Bush? And I was like, I don't know. Why you bring it up? Well, he lies and he did all this and he lied about this and he lied about that. And I was like, oh, that really? What did he lie about? And that was it. All of a sudden, it was the fumbling and the stumbling and the just, it was a mess. And all I did was say, oh, really? Can you name the lie? And I think she did say, about getting us into Iraq and all that. And I just pointed out, well, maybe he did think that they had. I mean, didn't
everybody
the
thought?
Clintons,
Germany thought, France thought, all these
Bill
Clintons
Clinton and Hillary
thought,
Clinton.
everybody was misled.
Right. They all came out and said, and I remember the speech that Bill Clinton gave where he was making the case to go to war in Iraq while George W. Bush was contemplating whether or not we should go to war with Iraq. Right. So he actually was pushing for it. So I brought all that up, and I said, well, maybe he really did think that they had weapons of mass destruction. And we know now, years later, that it was all a uniparty thing. But back then, I just thought, well, do we really know he was lying? And she just was fumbling all over herself. So the reason I bring up that story is because it works every time against liberals in general. Whenever they say something negative about Trump, in this case,
right, you
want to challenge them by asking specifics. Can you specifically name an example of what you're accusing? Because they never accuse of specifics. The reason they can't accuse for specifics is because they're just making it up, or they're lying, or whatever, and that's why you have to challenge them to make them feel dumb. And sometimes the honest ones will get red-pilled. It's rare. Right. Don't get your hopes up. Don't get your hopes up, because the red pill is a very, very rare situation. I do believe that the female family member in question that I
got red-pilled.
She may have gotten red-pilled.
Right.
She may not have gone all the way, but
I mean, the one that you know that I met said when I first met this individual, said that George Bush was an idiot. I said, oh, okay, cool. And we're not defending Bush, by the way, folks. I'm just saying this happened
we
back
were defending conservatism.
In 05, this went down to 05, and I said, well,
maybe 03. When did we go to Iraq? It was like 03 or something.
What makes you think that? Why do you say that? Oh, just because that's what everybody says. Oh, okay.
Well, that's what they're all saying, right? Yeah. Guys, fake news was not started on November 24th of last year when Washington Post came out with the Russiagate
Ronald Reagan was railing against fake news back in the 80s.
Right.
Even the roast, when the media gets together and is allowed to talk,
White House the
Correspondents' Dinner?
Yeah.
Do they do a roast there?
They did of Trump back in 2012.
Okay. So I think it was one of the times when Reagan was doing a roast in front of the media, or just maybe even just talking about the media in front of their face and talking about the fake news. But he didn't say the word fake news, but he said, hey, why don't you guys report the truth? Something of that effect.
Right.
But anyway.
So fake news has been going on for a long time.
Right. So when Time Person of the Year award doesn't go to Trump this year.
Do we know that yet?
If it doesn't.
Oh, if it doesn't.
If it doesn't, then we'll know why.
Well, the libs have been railing against it. There have been people on both sides saying, wow, Trump is really screwing up by making this an issue. We're talking about a picture on the cover of a magazine that's probably not really that important anymore.
Not anymore.
And why is he making this an issue? Isn't this a distraction from being president? This is the kind of stuff I'm hearing. And I said, now hold on a second. We are in a knock-down, drag-out civil war right now. It's not a bloody, violent civil war, but it is what I would consider a cold civil war. And it resembles a lot, to me, it resembles the war that we were going through with the Soviet Union, and we called that the Cold War, where we never really engaged with them directly, and a lot of it was espionage and that kind of stuff that was going on, and it was nasty and it was fierce, and there was trillions of dollars pumped into it over the course of the duration of the whole thing, and it really resembles that. And what is the front line of this civil war we're having right now? It's fake news versus the truth, which you find in the new media, Smith Radio, amongst us and amongst the rest of our friends that we follow on Twitter and listen to. This is the new media. This is the truth. And Donald Trump, by attacking Time the way he did, was an attack on fake news media in general. And so it was an important thing. This is what we're doing right now. You want to talk about draining the swamp and the deep state, and you got the uniparty and the media. This is all one big conglomeration. They're all trying to tear down America as we know it, as the founders intended it. And for him to make a tweet like that seems so trivial about Time magazine, it's not trivial. This is critical stuff. I implore you to not fall down that rabbit hole. Like, what is he doing? He's president of the United States and he's tweeting about this stuff. I think it's absolutely critical in our cold civil war that we're having right now. And so that's my take on it. By the way, Ari Fleischer, you remember who he is?
Oh, yeah.
He was the press secretary for George W. Bush. And he came out and said, I got to defend Donald Trump here. I hate to do it because I am a seasoned veteran of the Uniparty. I'm a high-ranking member of the Uniparty.
And I could be taken to the woodshed for this.
I mean,
that's how high-ranking I am.
But, gosh, I got to reluctantly go ahead and defend him by pointing out that Time Magazine called us and said the exact same thing about George W. Bush. The exact same thing. They called up and said, yeah, we're thinking about maybe making George W. Bush Time Man of the Year or Person of the Year. We want to do a photo shoot. We're not 100% sure if he will be. And that's another thing that Ari Fleischer pointed out. He said that was the year they ended up making Giuliani Man of the Year. So they ended up not making George W. Bush Man of the Year. So they
wasted Bush's time, really.
But the point is, it's that they did call him ahead of time and said that he is in the running. So there's no reason on earth Trump should lie about this or would lie about this.
Well, not only that, but check this out, folks. He was Man of the Year, Person of the Year last year.
Right.
And underneath it said Divided States of America. And we here on Smith Radio said, absolutely,
yeah.
Donald Trump has inherited Divided States of America. It's a fact. But Time intended that to be a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Time intended to say that it was Trump that divided America, when in reality, it had already been divided.
Well, in the past, that would have worked.
Right, absolutely. So why would you want to give your time and effort to these phonies on year 2? Who wins Time Person of the Year 2 years in a row?
It never has happened. Somebody looked it up. It's never happened.
Okay, well, it's like I climbed that mountain. I've won the award. You want me to attempt it again? No, man, I got other things to do.
Yeah, and some people are misinterpreting this as look how self-centered he is. Look how narcissistic he is. that it is a slap to his face that he's not going to be the Man of the Year, the Person of the Year for Time Magazine. Look how narcissistic. No. This isn't about him. This was a great opportunity for him to put a slap to the MSM fake news.
Right.
And he did it, and I think that he put him in a spot, and they responded. Time actually responded and said something really goofy. I'll have to find that for you guys so I can actually quote it for you directly. But they did respond, and they actually said that he was incorrect. Did you see the response?
Yeah, it was
that they were incorrect in their that Donald Trump was incorrect. I'm going to find it for you real quick here. But
all right, while you do that,
yeah.
Folks, as soon as we get done talking about this, I mean, we're almost finished with this. I've got the biggest story of the year. Literally the biggest story of the year that is going to make you feel so warm inside. It's going to get you so excited about what Trump is doing. And where did this story come from? It comes from CNBC senior columnist Jake Novak, and it's an opinion piece, and he's lamenting about how the Democrats have screwed this up. And so as he's ranting and raving about how the Democrats have completely screwed this up, they have handed Donald Trump. This was over Thanksgiving, the holiday Thanksgiving, and Jake Novak says that Donald Trump should be the one thanking for the gift that he had been given by the Democrats, by Harry Reid, in fact. So if you got that there.
I'm working on it.
Okay. So anyway, so over the Thanksgiving, I keep wanting to say Thanksgiving weekend, but it's really Thanksgiving midweek, if you will. Trump tweeted out, "Happy Thanksgiving. Your country is starting to do really well. Jobs coming back. Highest stock market ever. Military getting stronger. We will build the wall. The VA taking care of our vets. Great Supreme Court justice. Record cut in regulations. Lowest unemployment in 17 years.
I found that tweet, by the
Okay.
way. So Time Magazine responded to Donald Trump's tweet by saying, "The president is incorrect about how we chose Person of the Year. Time does not comment on our choice until publication, which is December 6th. Well, we already know that Ari Fleischer. First of all, they didn't really address
That's
Donald
a
Trump.
that's like a false statement.
It's not a false statement. It's like it's a non-answer.
They
It's a
answered
non-response.
something that Trump didn't say.
Right. I don't think he said that there was a way. This is how Time chooses their Person of the Year.
No. He
So-
said in big, bold, capital letters, he said, Time called me to say, probably. Big, bold letters in
But is
Trump's
there
tweet.
anything about Trump's tweet that indicates that he's divulging how
No.
Time
Nope.
selects their Person of the
Not
Year?
at all.
So the whole idea of him being incorrect about that, it was just like it's changing the subject. I would venture to call it a non sequitur.
Okay.
So it does not follow. It's like, what are you answering here? And by the way, what do we mean by incorrect? If anything, they're trying to basically very, very gingerly call him a liar. Very gingerly.
Without
very
saying
gingerly.
it.
Without actually, and they didn't say, no, we didn't call him. We didn't call him. And also Sean Hannity chimed in, which I think is interesting because he kind of made it a big deal too by saying, well, why don't you answer the question? Did you call him or not? Are you willing to say that you did not call him?
And then the next day, he quoted his own tweet and said, still waiting.
Oh, yeah, that's funny. That is so funny. Yeah, and so it's interesting because even Sean Hannity made a total what appears to be a non-news item, a news item. And the reason I think it's significant, and I'll repeat this again, is because this is a cold civil war where the media, the mainstream media, the fake news media, is a major player on the side, an ally, if you will, or an axis. They're the axis of evil.
Yes.
Where you have the mainstream media and the uniparty, which is the entire Democrat Party with the rhinos, which are kind of like embedded, I don't know, like spies, double agents, if you will.
Right.
So that's yeah, and also people say, well, we have a majority, we have the House, we have the Senate. No, we don't actually. If you take into consideration that a lot of these Republicans, the people that have R's next to their name, are actually Democrats with an R next to their name, we're not in the majority yet. We have a lot of work to do. We have to fight hard, and it's why they're able to resist so well. They're able to prevent Trump from implementing actual policy. Now, America is being made better again. Like, for instance, We're not building a wall on the southern border, right? Why? Because the uniparty is resisting that. They're
Absolutely resisting.
Right, they're trying to stop that. But why is immigration or illegal border crossings down over 70%? Because
they know it's coming.
They know it's coming because just the fact that he's there and that it's coming, his presence is making America great again. But the policy of actually building the wall is not there yet. The policy of reforming the tax code is not there. The policy of repealing and replacing or repealing and leaving it alone Obamacare is not there yet. But you see that his presence is being felt, and it's actually just his presence is making America great again. But we need to work hard because it's all temporary. Because when he's gone in 8 years, without the policy changes, we'll go right back to where we were before. And how do we do that? We have to recognize that just because Donald Trump has an R next to his name, and we have a majority of people in the Senate and the House that have R's next to their name, does not mean that we have any kind of a majority or a supermajority or even anything remotely resembling that, because it's not R's versus D's. It's uniparty versus we the people. We need to identify who these senators and who these congressmen are who are actually not with us. They have an R next to their name.
Just like John McCain. We keep throwing him out there.
Susan Collins. You got your McConnell. You have your Lindsey Graham.
Oh, Mitch McConnell was in the news this week that Republicans are backing away from him for 2018.
Good.
Yeah. I like the sound of that. Yes. Now, I'm going to give you this article, folks. So this is going to make you so happy. You're going to get so excited, but trust me, we cannot get complacent. This whole show, there's so much in the stack of stuff. This entire show is going to make you feel so good about what's going on in America right now, but I don't want you to get complacent and think that, okay, well, we can take a break. We did that in the 90s and the early 2000s, and we lost it. We completely lost it all. So even after 8 years of Trump and then 8 years of Pence, and we've got to keep Pence on the right track, and we got to keep the deep state out, after that next 16 years, we still got to find somebody else to follow up and to continue on with making America great again. Now, with that being said, Jake Novak from CNBC lamenting that Senator Chuck Ernest Grassley, who's been in the Senate from Iowa since 1981.
Too long.
Republican, old dude, did not like Trump, still probably doesn't like Trump. The Billy Bush tapes and stuff like that, he used that to rail against him. But I digress. Grassley decided this year not to honor a Senate tradition of holding up hearings for judicial nominees who aren't cleared by their own home state senators. What is this all about? What this is all about, folks, it's something called the blue slip courtesy, in which if you can't pass your senators, if you're nominated for a judicial position, federal judicial position, if you can't pass your own senators, well, we're not even going to look at you.
State senators?
Or your state senators.
Okay,
yeah, we're not even going to look at you, and you got to pass that hurdle first. And it was always just like you said, blue chip slip courtesy.
That makes sense, because who knows these people better than those from their own state? Because I can't imagine that somebody in Idaho would know about some judge in Ohio.
True.
So it would be helpful to people in Iowa to know that everybody in Ohio, the Ohio senators,
right,
the state senators, all are like, yes, this guy is a good guy. We
approve him
yeah.
for the nominee. Go for your second
That makes
round.
sense to me.
Problem is, because the Democrats don't have the House or the Senate, they literally have lost so much, it's unbelievable. They're using this tactic for the last 10 months to hold up Donald Trump's nominees.
Okay, so what are they saying? That the state is not... So is the state approving them or not?
No, they're not. They're not. The Democrats are holding it back so they don't get approved.
So they're using the state...
As a filibuster.
Oh my gosh, that's actually pretty clever.
Right, because they know the rules.
Oh.
So Chuck Grassley decided not to renew and honor that tradition, which is kind of strange. But maybe he had a change of heart, or he sees what's going on and he doesn't agree with it, and he doesn't have to say anything. He just needs to not approve this anymore, and so he didn't. And so the Dems were using this to stall Trump's judicial nominees. The result is Trump will get to fill the most federal judiciary vacancies in 45 years.
It's scary that has to happen, because I actually like that idea that the state, the home state of the,
I agree.
the federal judge,
Well,
nominee, I should say.
Well, here's why that should stay, but where Harry Reid comes into play. None of this could have happened, and this will take you back a little bit if you guys folks remember this. None of this would have been possible without Harry Reid's decision to, and Rush Limbaugh railed against this, to kill the filibuster rule for judicial nominees.
In 2013. Yeah, a lot of purists, constitutional purists, were really worried about that. But then again, I think Rush himself actually, was it Rush or was it? It was one of those guys, talked about how the filibuster, it wasn't even part of the way things were done when the country was founded.
True, but the spineless Republicans at the time went along with it, thinking, we'll agree with you on this. You guys just move with us on this. And it's like the Charlie Brown. Old girl holding the football.
Lucy.
Yeah. I'm not going to pull it from you again. And the spineless Republicans, time and time again, get fooled and faked out. And when they killed this filibuster rule, they got faked out again. And what happened? The GOP was helpless. They had nothing. So Obama went to town doing everything he could to ruin America. And so until the GOP was able to secure the Senate in 2014, which we, the Tea Party members, were an integral part in making that happen.
Right.
Regardless if they claim so or not. But we don't care who gets the credit. So the GOP, once they were able to secure that, then it stopped all this from happening, because they then had the Democrats didn't have their entire
They had a super majority.
Yeah, they didn't have that anymore. So Obama couldn't continue to jam these judicial nominees down our throats without anybody able to say anything about it.
Yeah, I remember one person that's really up to speed big time on the intricacies of these things that just don't ever get reported because it kind of flies over everybody's head is Mark Levin.
Yeah.
Talks about all these federal judges and he was talking about these hundreds of judges all across the nation that Obama had put in place, and the way he talked about it and the impact that it had.
We talked about it. We were scared. We were scared to death.
Yeah, I mean, he was really painting a very bad picture. And then now we have Trump in there, and he's able to kind of right the ship. So that's really good that he's able to do this.
So remember when the GOP said that if you give us the House and the Senate, we'll repeal and replace Obamacare?
Yeah. Oh, that is just the fact that it's gone down like this is so eye-opening to everybody.
They had the opportunity to do that, and they didn't.
Right.
They had the opportunity to do many, many things, and they didn't. However, do you folks remember back in Obama's last year when Justice Antonin Scalia, God rest his soul, that Obama was attempting to ram down our throats Merrick Garland?
Okay.
Remember he was trying to fill that seat before he left office, and it was well known that you do not get a judicial a Supreme Court nominee. You do not get one in your last year as president.
Well, technically that's not true. It's just what they decided. it's almost like kind of like a tradition, but it's not. It's just what they do. But it's not written that you're not allowed to have a. I'm actually shocked. I am shocked that the Democrats laid down for that. Absolutely shocked. We almost lost the country right there, folks. We were that close.
Without a doubt.
When Antonin Scalia died, I was sick for days. I was so sick to my stomach. I was really depressed, and I said, that's it. That's all she wrote. We are definitely going to lose the Second Amendment, 100%.
Well, the name of our show for that show was Antonin Scalia Dies and Takes America With Him.
Oh, my gosh. That's actually good title because we really believe that. I have no idea why the Democrats laid down for that because they could have stuck the dagger in the heart of America forever. The Bill of Rights would have been pretty much nullified, or at least the seeds would have been planted for future governments to turn into a tyranny completely.
Right.
Because they would have gotten rid of the thing that really secures the Constitution is the Second Amendment. And that would have been the thing that by getting rid of that, and they would have. Do not doubt you can go back and listen to that show. We talked about how they were going to do it. All they had to do was change the definition of a couple of words.
That was in 2010.
When Antonin Scalia died?
No, 2010 when that bill went all the way up to the Supreme Court saying
you're talking about
you had to be in a militia to own a gun.
Yeah, that was the dissent they were trying to say, they were trying to define militia as somebody that works in the government in law enforcement or military. That's what they were trying to define. And then that way, and they were also trying to fudge the grammar because even if you define militia as that, you still have to fudge the grammar in the Second Amendment a little bit,
right,
in order to go all the way. And they were going to go all the way. They were just going to make up new grammar and make it so that you had to be in the military or law enforcement in the government in order to bear arms or have some sort of a really high tech, like maybe if you were like a security guard, private security guard, you probably were going to have massive amounts of licensing.
That went all the way to the Supreme Court with a 5-4 decision.
5-4. A lot of people don't know that. Yep, 5-4.
I mean, just one.
Yeah, it was Heller versus D.C. Heller versus D.C. was a cop who wanted to bear arms inside of his home to protect his home. Did he live in
cop. Did he live in D.C.?
Well, yeah, he lived in D.C.
Okay, well, that's why you're not allowed to have a gun in D.C. I mean,
if
you're a law-abiding no, is he a law-abiding citizen?
He's a militiaman. No, no.
If he's a law-abiding citizen,
yeah,
in the state in the D.C. proper,
yeah,
you're not allowed to have a gun.
What about the Second Amendment?
That don't
apply. What about the Bill of Rights? What about the Constitution?
They say in D.C. that don't apply.
You're saying the Constitution doesn't apply in D.C.
I think I got a hotline. I got a redial Marion Barry on the redial. Let me get his opinion on this.
Oh my gosh!
Wow. They reelect mayor of D.C.
Close. We were close
from jail.
So we had a 5-4 on D.C. Heller. You lose Antonin Scalia. Obama is president at the time. He fills that in with a ultra anti-American communist, which all the rest of them are.
Right.
And you go 5-4. The next time somebody challenges that, it goes to the Supreme Court 5-4 the other way, and that's it. That is
it never undoes. I mean, look, think about this. Think about the abortion, Roe versus Wade, 1973, the year I was born.
You do not have the right to life anymore.
You could. I mean, it was.
We lost the right to life.
Right. You're not allowed to live.
It's unbelievable.
You're not allowed to live. Federal law trumps all state rules and state laws, which
that took a big chunk out of the Declaration of Independence, because that is the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So anyway,
right. I don't want to get too far off track, but folks, we're talking about this article about Chuck Grassley, who has decided not to honor Senate tradition of holding up hearings for judicial nominees who aren't cleared by their own state senators. Something called a blue slip courtesy. So Harry Reid he killed the filibuster rule for these judicial nominees for Obama to load the courts up to then pretty much, I mean, that was the coup. That is the army the military being installed in the government as the actual coup. So when Trump or any conservative president gets in there and writes an executive order saying that no refugees coming into our state will be admitted, then you got the Ninth Circus Court of Appeals that said, sorry.
Yeah.
That don't hold up.
Right. Like they loaded it for this very purpose.
Right.
To pretty much nullify a Republican president.
And so the GOP, the only thing they did under Obama that I can be excited about is the fact that they did not allow Merrick Garland
Yep.
as Obama's nominee for the Supreme Court. That would have been horrendous. Check this out. Here's some more to be excited about. This article is by CNBC, and Jake Novak is just lamenting about how awful things have gone and how wrong they've gone. And he's writing the truth in what Rush would call drive-by journalism or accidental journalism.
Oh, random act.
Random act.
Random act of journalism.
So he said, okay, so now Donald Trump will be able to appoint twice as many as President Obama, also a large number of vacancies when he took office in 2009. So there were still vacancies under Obama from 2009 that he still didn't fill. The Christian Science Monitor reports that this is likely the most vacancies for a president to fill in over 40 years, some say 45 years, and the Trump team hasn't been wasting much time. As of November 3rd, 13 Trump nominees to the courts have been confirmed this year. The big name in Supreme Court associated, we talked about just recently, with Neil Gorsuch.
Which is awesome.
Being able to replace, being a great constitutionalist.
Right.
An originalist.
Yeah, the purists out there were giddy. They were giddy, which is good. I mean,
Mark Levin was giddy.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, people say, well, we're always making fun of the purists because it ends up shooting ourselves in the foot. But anytime we do something that makes the purists happy, obviously that's a good thing. I'm with the purists all the time until they do the scorched earth policy, throw the baby
Trumpers.
out, throw the baby out with the bathwater,
Right.
or when they start railing against Trump because they don't like Trump himself. But
right.
But anyway,
so we've got Neil Gorsuch, and then also, but we also have 8 new federal appeals court judges, 4 new U.S. District Court judges. President Trump has now already surpassed the last 4 presidents' records for first-year judicial confirmations. And he's even tied President Ronald Reagan and his number of appeals court confirmations in year 1. The nominees sent to the Senate from the White House are more conservative and even younger than that we saw during President George W. Bush's 2 terms in office. So on this Thanksgiving week, this is the Jake Novak, CNBC. So on this Thanksgiving weekend, the most grateful person in America should be President Trump. An unlikely set of benefactors has truly given him the political gift that will keep on giving. I think he's wrong there. I think the people who should be most grateful is that of us, the citizenry that want to take back our country.
Right. Well, it's working. It's amazing that the people can always overwhelm whatever diabolical fraud, voter fraud or any kind of tyrannical acts of the government. The citizens, the 330 or 350 million citizens of this country will always overwhelm the government. And that's pretty much what we've done. The Trump movement has been a tsunami, and it's just awesome to see. And it really gives me hope to know that they can't do this to us. They won't get away with it. No matter, even if we get really apathetic and let them beat on us for a long time, there comes a point where the people will rise up and take back America, and that's what we did, and that's what we continue to do. And I like the way that people aren't going back and forgetting about what we did in November of 2016 with the election. They see the obstruction, they see the resistance, and this anti-American behavior. They see the lies and the fake news, and they're like, you know what? Let's just keep fighting.
Right.
And they're continuing to fight. And what's happening when this is happening is it's causing the uniparty and their liars and fake news and all those that are trying to destroy America, it's causing them to lose to the point where they're just getting obliterated.
Right.
There's going to be nothing left of them. And it's awesome to see. It makes me think, well, if we could just totally obliterate them and make them completely useless and marginalized and completely powerless, what can we accomplish? Talk about making America great again.
Endless.
Are we talking about draining the swamp in this program? Because that's pretty much what it ends up happening. When they lose all the power that they had to create this corrupt leviathan in American government that we call the swamp, or which is the deep state and all this kind of stuff, and the elected officials that are so corrupt, when we make them so weak and we beat them down so bad, that draining the swamp becomes easy, right?
When there's no mercy either, folks.
You can't.
We have lived through this. We have, that's the thing that we talked about 3 years ago, is that we lived through the greatness of the 80s. We saw what it was like. We lived through what it was like to be a teenager and to have a job and quit that job and have another job the very next day.
Yeah.
Literally, whatever job I wanted, I could have had. And that set us up to great jobs later on. Fast forward till now, and in this past generation, they couldn't get a job. I mean, they're 25 years old, living at home, and maybe getting their first job.
I don't know what the millennials are going to grow up to be like. I mean, a lot of them are already grown up, but I mean, what's going to happen when they get old enough to where they really have control? Like the majority of the people with power in America, maybe 20 years from now, are going to be millennials. What they do with their life is going to be based on what they grew up with.
Right.
And we saw that with the greatest generation. They grew up during the Depression. They were just like, pull yourself up. And
the majority of them never, ever, ever outlived that ideology.
Right.
That mindset.
And then you got your baby boomers who were handed everything, and we saw,
and they never, ever outgrew that mindset.
Right. And what Brian and I bring to the table is what we grew up with the Generation X. So there's that, and it's interesting to see how the millennials are going to deal with this. It's not going to be like that generation, I don't believe, that went through the Depression back in the 30s.
No.
Because the difference between then and now, and when I mean now, I mean the Depression that was given to us by Obama, is that, and not just Obama, I can't saddle him. I'm talking the Uniparty.
Right, it is the Uniparty.
Right.
Absolutely.
They're the ones that caused the housing bubble. Everybody's like, well, Obama inherited a depression or a recession. Yeah, but it's all one big uniparty that caused it. The Dodd-Frank and the housing crisis and just the financial crisis, all
forcing
of that.
banks to give money to persons who are completely unqualified to have it.
Right.
When the government tells a bank, you must do this, what will happen is bad.
Right.
Nothing good can come of that.
And the difference between the Depression back in the 30s and what we went through in the early 2000s is that they really did have to line up in food lines and they weren't sure. Like, they were literally starving, and they really were worried about where they were going to find the means to put food on the table that night. That's the kind of desperation that they were in back then, and it really affected them for their whole life. For those of you that aren't old enough to remember the Greatest Generation, because almost all of them have died off by now, but the World War II vets, but we grew up with them, and they were like, they valued $1, and they valued a lot of things that the millennials take for granted. Now, fast forward to the millennials, and I think this is a generation where what was the biggest problem? Obesity. Like, that's like obesity was a problem during the Second Great Depression, right? And it's really weird.
Why am I still seeing signs that so many children go to bed hungry?
Oh, that's ridiculous. It's totally
Why
ridiculous.
am I seeing that?
They don't know hunger. They do not. You know, a perfect example.
Oh, they did a poll. We asked the children, do you go to bed hungry sometimes? You ask my kids, they're always hungry.
Right. My daughter will say yes.
They never stop eating.
No, how about this? Have you ever gone to bed hungry? You could be fat. And at some point, you went to bed hungry.
I feel hungry.
At some point.
Right.
At some point. Right. So that's how they base these polls. But, like, I'll never forget. This is how far from hunger we've actually gotten here in America and how bad it really was. When I watched a movie called All Quiet on the Western Front, which was made in 1930, and it was based on World War I, a big part of some of the plot that was going on during the movie were these soldiers in Europe during World War I wondering, like, they were obsessing over food. Like, there were these beautiful women that were trying to get the attention of these soldiers, and guess how they got their attention?
Giving them food.
You think it would be like, raising their skirt up a little bit or something, showing some legs, showing a little skin. No, she had a loaf of bread. She was waving a loaf of bread at this guy, and he was like, oh my gosh, they got food over there. They got food.
Did we watch that together?
No, I think you watched it. I watched it all by myself at the house. But I remember there were fights in the line. Like, they would go days and days without any food, and then all of a sudden they would muster together, and they would have these big pots of, like, soup or something, and the guys were, like, fighting over second helpings, or they're rashing it out. And nobody deals with that stuff these days. And I know it was just a movie, but it was made in 1930, and it was set in World War I. So it's not like you look at a World War I movie that's modern, like Gallipoli with Mel Gibson in it.
Right.
They don't ever talk about how they were wondering where their next meal was going to come from. I mean, only half of their worry was whether or not they were going to survive the next day from dodging a bullet. The other half was just obsessing over their hunger and where they're going to get their next meal, you know?
Right.
And so things have changed. And I wonder how the millennials are going to take that upbringing of being faced with wondering if they were – it's like they didn't care whether they were going to have a job or not because they never really worried about whether or not they were going to survive the next couple of weeks without food because that was never an issue. Never.
Health insurance is a right. I have to have it. Government's got to provide it.
Right.
You know, what's next? Car insurance, I have to have it. Government needs to provide it. I mean, it never ends. You give somebody an inch, they're going to take a mile. We've seen that.
And millennials may not have been able to earn their own money, but there's two types of millennials. There were millennials who were either the children or grandchildren of the baby boomers who had a ridiculous amount of expendable income, or they were children or grandchildren of those who are getting plenty of benefits from the government to be able to provide for everything that they needed. So they just weren't grown up in that setting that the greatest generation of the 30s were.
No, and when you look back at Obama's his reign of terror, you'll see. I mean, when has it ever been? And your father even told me about this. You've got to watch this movie. It's about the fall of Rome. So I started watching it on Netflix. I was like, oh, my God, this is identical.
That's what's happening.
To what Obama's 51% on some type of government assistance?
Oh, can you believe that was happening thousands of years ago or whatever? It's like,
yeah. So, and you're talking about the deep state and the stack of stuff. You know, George Soros seems to be this mythical creature from the dark, the deep, the lagoon, and you just kind of, I mean, you don't know what to believe sometimes, and they do that on purpose. There's a purpose for every single thing they do. They want you to think that he's some kind of mythical creature, that he doesn't really exist, or maybe he does, or all the conspiracy theories about him, are they true, are they not? If you start talking about George Soros, somebody might look at you and think, oh, man, that guy's a kook. Talking about, not this George Soros thing again.
Right. Well, the thing about George Soros is that,
There's a reality to this.
Well,
there is a real guy named George Soros.
Yes,
it's a billionaire.
He is a real guy. He actually has a son that's going around and doing dirty work too. But as journalists, Brian and I have slowly but surely, since we started this 4 years ago, we've developed this sense that maybe we didn't have in the early days, and we know based on our own observation that most people don't have this. But whenever you hear about something happening, immediately we're both like, all right, what's the source? How credible is the source?
Right.
Where did this come from? Who is saying this? I mean, is there proof of this? What's the proof? Is there evidence? Show me the evidence, this kind of stuff. So these days when I hear about Soros, it's like, oh, okay, well, here's what we do, what I know. And it's not like I've done research on George Soros or anything like that, but we do know that there is a paper trail for his funding.
Right, and there are countries around the world that he is not allowed to go to, otherwise he'll be arrested.
Right, but the thing, as far as America's concerned, it's like he gives tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions to these organizations that we know are doing bad things. And that's the extent of his contribution that we know of for a fact. Everything beyond that, it's like you hear, a George Soros funded Black Lives Matters event. It's like, okay, I know you said that, and I know we all believe that, but I want to see the dots connected, that kind of stuff. But go ahead. That's all I know about George Soros. He is, in fact, financially connected to a lot of bad things.
Right, and this from the Washington Free Beacon, very trusted source. They have obtained documents that show comprehensively details this event that George Soros is putting on. It's the Soros event. And the attendees that are there, George Soros-sponsored Democracy Alliance Summit, which is taking place in the crazy state of California this week. The document lists all the speakers and the guests at the event, and several high-profile Democrats appear to have made the journey to beg the billionaire for dollars. And this is from the Washington Free Beacon. This is how they write it. And here's the list. The list is House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi. Go figure. I mean, she is from Democrat from California. Senator Kamala Harris,
She's bad too.
Oh, bad. Really, really bad individual. 2020 hopeful. They're claiming that she may run for presidency in 2020. She's a hopeful. She appeared in a virtual message right at the beginning of the show opened up, and then George Soros took over from there. Governor Tom Wolf from Pennsylvania up for re-election in 2018. Senator Amy Klobuchar, Democrat, Minnesota.
I like how you hack those up.
I clubbed it.
Klobuchar.
2020 hopeful.
Did you clobber it or butcher it?
Both. Florida Senator Annette. Damn, what's wrong with these names? Tadeo. Previously a congressional candidate, Secretary of State Alex Padilla from California as well. Potential 2018.
I think it's
California.
Padilla.
Padilla.
That's the American pronunciation. Yeah.
California gubernatorial candidate Mary Kay Henry, the president of Service Employees International Union,
which is the SEIU.
Right, spoke at a Thursday event on mobilizing the electorate for progressive future.
You gotta love that.
So we got a George Soros event for a progressive future. And all the Democrats in union, not all the union, but Democrats are there. And now you got union thugs.
Yeah, and the union is, when you say thugs, they're kind of like the mafia for the communists.
The legal mafia. They're they're legally allowed to do it.
Right. They strong arm, and this has been going on since bootlegging days. You know? I mean, seriously, I mean that's the alliance between the actual Italian mafia and the union was. I mean, they were practically the damn same thing, pretty much. So it makes sense that you would refer to them as thugs because That's pretty much it. I mean, they're like the extension. They're like the leftovers from the Italian mafia, probably.
Right.
So,
and if I mispronounce a Democrat name,
Good.
Usually it's because I don't even care to learn what their name,
right?
How to say it correctly. I'll just club-botcher it and just kind of move on. But we've got this thing. This is part of the deep state that we're talking about. Stefan Molyneux tweeted out shortly after I'd seen this article a percentage of positive views of socialism in America. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And so the general public, positive views on socialism in America. General public, 31%. That's a third.
That's really bad.
It's horrible.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
Well, and I'd like to hear the breakdown of exactly how those questions were asked, because I love this one when you say, oh, man, socialism, it's evil, it's terrible, you got to get rid of it. And they're like, oh, do you like your fire department? Do you like your police department? Do you like, and then they go into schools, and that's where I'm like, I can tell you no on that one. Bye.
Right.
So
there are certain things that we have to have that we are willing to pay for as citizenry.
But why does it have to be a federal thing?
And it doesn't have to be socialist.
It could be socialized locally. Like your police department is either like a county sheriff, or it could be a municipal citywide police department, or it could be a township police. That's what we have here in Cincinnati.
Yeah, but Kerry, when they need the military style vehicles, they need to really get that. Like that crazy guy in California that was unstoppable with his crew.
I don't mean
with armor bulletproof vests and armor vehicles, and they went through West Hollywood with a fully automatic M16 military style.
Well,
assault rifles.
I don't mean to get off on this.
Kerry, they were mowing people down. The police need tanks.
They need fighter jets,
and
bombers.
Yes.
Definitely. They need to include some bombers in there. Do some carpet bombing. I think that if you have a police force that is all suited up like you're in Afghanistan, I don't think the problem is the law breaking. I think you just have a breakdown of society in general.
I'll agree with that 100%.
Yeah, so anyway, that's my thought.
Okay, so general public's view of socialism in a positive manner, 31%. Democrats' view of socialism positive, 59%.
I'm actually surprised it's that
low. I am
yeah,
too. I am
really, really surprised.
Then he does a breakdown of race. It says whites, 24%. Hispanics, 44%, which I'm kind of shocked at that. I thought it'd be higher for Hispanics as well. And then the blacks, 55%.
Those numbers all sound kind of surprising to me. Like for the general public, I feel is too high. Democrats, I'm shocked is that low. Whites, I don't know. 24%. It kind of sounds a little low to me because all the most vocal Twitter socialists, communists, whatever, the ones that are just laying it on thick on Twitter, based on their profile pic, they look white to me for the most part. So a majority of them. So
well, you're identifying them as that. You've got to call them and ask them what they identify as.
Oh, right. And then Hispanics, you say 44%. Were you expecting higher? Because
I was thinking 70.
Wow.
I mean, look,
it makes sense when you consider that they're trying to import as many illegal Hispanics as possible in order to change the demographics to be more Democrat voter, is what the conventional wisdom is on illegal immigration. So, but we're only talking about a positive view of socialism. We're not talking about their action. If this is all true, all we have to do is sell all these people on the fact.
We got to sell it. We got to tell them the fact.
The simple fact. The
right.
simple fact that if you vote for the Democrat, you are voting for a socialist.
Correct.
And then that will leave us with 69% of the general public saying, "Whoa, I better not vote for that Democrat then."
Right.
41% of Democrats will say, "Ooh, I didn't know the guy that I'm voting for is a socialist. oh man, now that I know that, I guess I shouldn't vote for him. Are you serious? 41% of Democrats?
Dude, that would be huge.
Yeah, so there's that, and then whites, that's 70-something%.
Well, that might be because that might say something about with Roy Moore out in Alabama. His the guy he's running against, Jones, is a full-blown Bernie Sanders kind of guy.
Yeah, which Bernie Sanders is total Marxist.
Killing babies. And well, Hillary Clinton admitted right there, just days before the election was over, on The View, that the date that she agrees that you're allowed to kill the baby in the womb is on the birth date.
As long as it hasn't been born yet.
As long as it hasn't crested. If it crested, you can't kill it yet.
And some Democrats, there have been reports of Planned Parenthood doctors actually performing the abortion after birth. That was a big scandal for a while there.
It's huge. So I'm just saying, folks, this is who we're fighting against. And, of course, a guy like Jones going against a guy like Moore, what are they going to do? They've got to do everything they can to destroy Moore and not expose Jones for who he is.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Thank God for Twitter. Thank God for Donald J. Trump.
Jack Dorsey would be horrified to hear us point out to you and to the world. We're just the messenger, people. We're just the messenger. That Twitter has saved the world by way of saving America and saving us from the tyranny of socialism, because the key to socialism working in America and thus taking over the world and ending any beacon of freedom anywhere in the world is to lie to the general public. And there's just too many people that are going to point out the lies too quickly. Because what was the old saying? That a lie will get halfway around the world while the truth is putting its trousers on. I believe that is a quote by Mark Twain. Well, with Twitter, the lie doesn't get halfway around the world, and the truth isn't still putting its trousers on. It's almost like Wikipedia. The thing about Wikipedia is users will put an entry in for something on Wikipedia. And if somebody tries to come in and they call it graffiti, where they go in and they type in something fake, something false on Wikipedia, the actual curators of Wikipedia, which are just whoever who's signed up, can take that stuff down within seconds, really quick.
It's nice that Cernovich pointed out to them then that they didn't make the correction, that Donald Trump was unfortunately not assassinated.
What?
Yeah.
Wikipedia?
Yeah, the article that the attempt to assassinate on Trump. They got in there and they put in there unfortunately unsuccessful assassination.
Oh my gosh.
He screenshot and put that up. Thank you, Cernovich.
Well, and then somebody who is a curator should pick that up quickly, but sometimes when it comes to liberals, not quick enough. But the point is if Wikipedia could do it, imagine a much more active, much more participation app, which would be Twitter, where a news article goes out, and if there's something wrong with it, Twitter will destroy it in seconds. Remember it was Carrie Kellerman. I don't know if she's the originator of this, but if she is, she definitely deserves a lot of credit, because I can't believe that somebody didn't pick this up before her, but she did, and she picked up on it. She knows that John McCain was wearing a cast on one leg, and then in another photo wearing
within like a couple of weeks.
I don't know what the time difference is on the two different pictures.
No, it was within a couple of weeks.
I believe you. I totally believe you.
One where he was walking with a cane, and then a few weeks later he was at a wedding.
Okay.
Sitting down on the bench at a wedding, somebody snapped the photo and they were like, "Oh, hell no.
It's on the other foot."
Right. And so, I tweeted out, it's pretty much like his stance in politics on the left and on the right.
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
It took off. I got some traction.
I totally didn't see that. I should have retweeted that. I didn't see it. So the first thing I did, and I saw this thing, I was like, oh, that's hilarious. And I thought, okay, it's got to be fake. Let's check it out. So I zoomed in on it real close, and I noticed the shirt buttons and everything, all these little details that would indicate, because you can reverse an image like a mirror image.
Right.
It's really easy to do. You can mirror image, and if you did that with somebody with a cast, it would appear as if you had a cast on the other foot. So my first initial immediate thought was, somebody mirror imaged a picture. Well, it turns out if you look at the buttons on his shirt, the buttons on his suit, it pretty much verified that this was not a reverse mirror image photograph.
Right.
So it was authentic. So as soon as I posted out that this was an authentic picture, I scrolled down, and hours before I was able to say that, dozen people already said it. They were like, look, it's real too because his shirt buttons are on the right side. So I was late. You can't be fast enough. These people who are verifying that something is authentic or debunking it when it is false happens so quick, and we can thank Twitter for that. And it's so ironic that the Twitter staff and Jack Dorsey, which I don't even know what his job title is, I'll just call him the CEO. I think it was probably what it is. These people that really desperately don't want people to go out there and correct the fake news, which is what we do, what you guys do. You guys all do it. By the way, good segue into if you're a Patreon patron of Smith Radio, you could be part of our text group. And for just $1 a month, you get in our text group. You guys that are in the Patreon text group, which, by the way, is like a mega party every single day.
It is
every
an absolute
hour.
mega party.
Like all hours of the night.
I've been MIA, folks, for the past couple of days. I've had the flu of death.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, I hope you feel better.
Yeah. You're on the computer my son was on. That he was the one that gave it to me.
Oh, I guess I'm going to get it here soon.
I've been meaning to tell you, make sure you wash up.
Well, the point is, I'm going to wash up good. I'm going to put my hands all over my face. These people that are in our Patreon text, when they start talking about stuff, it ends up being they're like they end up being our producers for the most part, because we end up sometimes I'll have an idea on something that we may cover on this show, or I may want to tweet it out or have an opinion on it, or maybe even do a Periscope about it, and I'll throw it through the room real quick and see what everybody thinks about it. And sometimes people take me to the woodshed, and sometimes they praise me for it, and then I know what to do after that. So yeah, you could be a part of that for just $1 a month on Patreon, and that's just one little group. The group at large is the following on Twitter, which is up to like 15.2 thousand for me, and probably similar for Brian. And gosh, I mean, it's quick. It is so quick the way this stuff is corrected, and I just find it juicy and ironic.
You know what's so cool? I was doing show prep this morning or this afternoon around 12:49 on my Mac computer. CNN came across and gave a breaking news that old boy's going to step aside.
Conyers?
Yeah, Conyers going to step aside. And as soon as that came across, all of a sudden I looked down at the iPad and I saw messages coming from our message group.
Yeah.
Hey, did you get the breaking news? And I responded back, yep, in the show. So, I mean, it's...
And there's sometimes where the first time I hear about something is in our text group.
Which is
I'm like,
awesome.
oh, what happened? What happened? So I'm like trying to catch up sometimes. So even our text group is just breaking stuff for us.
And so talking about Donald Trump and his tweets, and he tweeted out 9 hours ago, the last thing we need in Alabama and the United States Senate is a Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi puppet who is weak on crime, weak on the border, bad for our military and our great veterans, bad for our Second Amendment, and wants to raise taxes to the sky. Jones would be a disaster.
Right. Well, I mean, that goes without saying. And that's the thing about Roy Moore. We spent the past 2 weeks talking about him. I think it should be a no-brainer. You got to vote for him. As far as the stuff that he's being accused of, really what it boils down to is this. If somebody accuses somebody that we initially liked of something, and there's evidence that it's true and it's an atrocious thing, and we don't like it, we're going to examine the evidence, and we're going to determine whether or not we should be sticking to principles and telling them that they need to step down and all that kind of stuff. But look, the left are a bunch of liars.
Yeah.
They are such liars. And so whenever they say that one of our guys did something, we have to start with the initial reaction that, okay, what's definitely not true until I see evidence. And they tried to present evidence. Turns out the evidence has some major flaws with it. So I'm not going to sit here and entertain your accusations unless there's some sort of evidence. And when your evidence, I'm going to tell you right now, when your evidence comes out and it seems to be actually fraudulent and made up and fake evidence, I'm not going to listen to a damn thing you have to say after that. I'm not even going to look at further evidence. You tried to present to me fake, falsified evidence. You're done. You are done. And that's why we're supporting Roy Moore, is because I don't know what to tell you. You faked evidence to try to get us to throw him under the bus, and you're a bunch of liars anyway. We're talking about Democrats here.
Right. How can you possibly it's just so uncanny, folks. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's been in the limelight for 40 years. This beyond it's beyond a joke. His wife is denounced all of this, and Roy Moore is actually fundraising right now, doing a great job of fundraising on the back of Donald Trump giving him a somewhat I'm in sort of thing. I mean, and that's fine. That's fine. Trump, I think, played it the best he could play it.
Oh my gosh, it was perfect because he was out of town. He was in China, and then the Al Franken thing happened before he got back. Soon as he steps foot on American soil, he's like, wow, this Al Franken guy's out of control. And by then, he didn't even have to make a comment on Roy Moore at all, which was awesome. What it boils down to is when it comes to sexual debauchery and deviancy and sexual assaults and all this stuff, all the accusations coming from the left is just projection. This is what they do. This is what they've been doing. I know some of the accusations are just silly, but some of them are serious. You know, obviously the Harvey Weinstein thing is just ridiculous.
Who?
Totally devastating.
Who?
Weinstein?
Are they
Well, I know they took him out of the news cycle.
Okay.
They removed him.
Yeah. Hit the eject button on that.
But you got your Charlie Sheen, who now he's going to get away with raping a child because the child, the victim, is dead. That's the only reason he's getting away with it. He didn't kill the child, but it was Corey Haim. It's, that's what we're dealing with here.
Right.
And these are the people that are throwing around accusations, and it's like, guys, clean up your own house.
So, Gloria Allred, she came out this week. I don't know if it was just within the past couple days.
On her too.
Okay, she came out and was on MSNBC on that one show with that real young blonde girl that couldn't get a word out edgewise, and Trump said, "Are you going to say it?
Oh, I don't even know who that is.
Are you even going to air this? Come on, spit it out,
Miss No Name.
Yeah, Miss No Name. Spit it out. So, anyways, she was interviewing, and her first question was, Gloria, how do you know that these signatures are truly his? And she said immediately, I'm not going to get into that.
Oh, that's incriminating.
We've offered to have these sent to a third party. No, you didn't. It was offered to you.
By Roy.
For a third party.
Roy Moore is begging her to take it to a third party.
And you said nothing, and now you're saying you want a third party, but this is basically a 14-minute interview, and I couldn't even stand it. This is all she said. She said, I want Senate Select Committee on Ethics or Senate Judiciary Committee. Agrees, as long as I want them to agree to have hearings that we requested so that my client can raise her hand and say, I swear, Your Honor, on a stack of Bibles or the Quran or whatever, and she said, I swear, and so she could tell her story. Well, let me tell you something, folks. One, that ain't never going to happen.
Well, she wants it to not happen until after the election.
That's what I'm saying. It could not happen in a timely manner. So if she got
by design
on purpose.
Yep.
So if she got the Senate Select Committee on Ethics or the Senate Judiciary Committee, if she got them to agree to a hearing, what year would that happen?
Yeah. All he's saying is get this thing to an independent even Sean Hannity pointed out he had a forensic signature expert on his show.
Yeah.
And he or she, I didn't see it, he actually talked about it the next day on his radio show. They said that they would absolutely be able to authenticate or debunk whether or not it's real or not based on not just the handwriting, because to me that seems a little subjective, but the ink analysis. They would be able to tell how old it was, whether or not all the ink on the entire page was
wasn't
by
this
the same
woman
pen.
Didn't he preside over this woman's divorce?
Yeah, when I heard that I was like, okay, this is totally fake.
What judge gets involved that presides over a divorce?
Of a woman that he had a relationship with when she was a teenager.
That don't make never mind.
Nobody asked. She would at least, let's say he forgot. Maybe he didn't recognize her because it's been so many years. She would certainly remember and say, oh, that's Judge Roy Moore. That's the guy I used to date when I was in junior high or whatever.
Right.
High school, when I was a freshman in high school.
You need to recuse yourself. I need another judge.
Right. I would think so. Unless.
Or hold on. Her husband would have asked for another judge.
Well, and maybe he didn't know. I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but I find it hard to believe that neither of them knew. Neither of them asked for a recusal. And I'm talking, when I mean neither, I mean Roy Moore. Because Roy Moore being a judge, if he had any clue whatsoever, he would have been like, oh, crap, I need to recuse myself.
Right.
He would have no reason. There's nothing in it for him to preside over a case of a former love interest or something like that. He would have nothing to gain from that because he's just presiding over her case.
Right.
So she ends up, for whatever reason, keeping the paperwork, which people do that. It's a case that you need to keep this paperwork for. And then years later was presented with thousands of dollars by the Washington Post because that's how they generate news.
Right. Right.
And
they buy it. They buy the news.
Yeah, and so they needed to purchase news, and she was like, "Oh wow, how can I?" And I guarantee you, Washington Post was like, "Listen, we're offering anywhere from $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. However, we're not just throwing money around here. We need proof. We need hard evidence." And she probably dug and said, "Man, I got this signature somewhere. We're gonna make this. We're gonna do a yearbook entry. Man, this is gonna be awesome." That's probably what happened. I'm speculating there, but knowing that it's most likely fake and knowing what we know about the DA at the end of his signature, that's really what it boils down to. So that is...
And this right here, we're not making this up. This right here is a phone call from local Channel 5 CBS News in Alabama of Washington Post.
Hi, this is Lenny Bernstein. I'm a reporter for the Washington Post. I'm calling to find out if anyone at this address is a female between the ages of 54 to 57 years old willing to make damaging remarks about candidate Roy Moore for a reward of between $5,000 to $7,000. We will not be fully investigating these claims. However, we will need a written report. I can be reached by email lbernstein@washingtonpost.com. Thank you.
Oh, he has a real New England accent. I don't know if it's quite New York. I mean, it's so thick, it's almost like Boston or something. I don't know. Somebody from the Northeast will have to identify that exact accent. But it's certainly not some troll from Alabama.
No, it's not somebody from Alabama. No.
Yeah, and for them to deny this, and then they said we don't have a guy like that, that would be a pseudonym or something like that just to cover the tracks, because plausible deniability is obviously important in a case where you're dealing with political espionage, really, is what this boils down to. Okay,
and you have something like that on Roy Moore, where the news media has given Roy Moore 1,000 times more coverage than all the other scandals put together. It fits the whole narrative. It's
Right.
simple. It's Occam's razor. What the correct answer is usually the most simplest answer.
Right. The shortest point between 2 points is usually a straight line. Yeah. So,
So we've got this situation unfolding today, where the DNC. Now here's the news, folks, that you're not going to hear, but that the DNC is completely falling apart and the wheels are coming off this train. Or this carriage, whatever it might be. The House Ethics Committee is launching an official investigation into John Conyers, representative Detroit since 1965. 65. He's the oldest Democrat serving.
he's the oldest person probably in all of elected politics.
Probably breaking records.
65, that's a long time. That was shortly after the assassination of JFK.
Wow.
Like 2 years. That's
wow.
like still fresh on everybody's mind.
Oh, my God. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
65.
That was the first year they came out with the Ford Mustang.
64 and a half. 65.
Yeah. So that's a long time ago. That is, yeah.
Okay, so is official investigation launched against him, ethics, because of all this stuff going down, and Nancy Pelosi, who we know she's as crazy as there ever was, Nancy Pelosi was questioned on Meet the Depressed by
John Dickerson.
Yeah, the
Dickerson. Guy that I can't forget his name now. He blocked me. I trolled him one too many times. I mean, I was respectful. It's just that when you show these liars the truth, it upsets them.
Right. So here's Nancy Pelosi on this whole Conyers thing, and I'm doing this on purpose, folks, because this was the lead, the head. If Bush was killed and Dick Cheney were killed, she would be president of the United States.
Yeah, if they went down in a plane crash or something like that together,
like a JFK plane crash.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. Don't put them in the same plane together, but I might be wrong about that. But yeah, Nancy Pelosi would be the president.
And these are the people running the Democrat Party.
So define zero tolerance. You said there's now a zero tolerance.
Yes.
John Conyers, what does that mean for him right now?
Let's say
in or out?
We are strengthened by due process. Mm-hmm. Just because someone is accused, and was it one accusation? Is it two? I think there has to be. John Conyers is an icon in our country. He has done a great deal to protect women, Violence Against Women Act, which the right wing is now quoting me as praising him for his work on that, and he did great work on that. But the fact is, as John reviews his case, which he knows, which I don't, I believe he will do. I believe that. Excuse me, may I finish my sentence? Sure. That he will do the right thing.
And is the right thing what? Resign?
He will do the right thing in terms of what he knows about his situation, that he's entitled to due process, but women are entitled to due process as well.
But he took advantage of a situation where he had the rules of conduct, and I know you guys want to change these rules, but he got to hide his settlement. He got to, his accusers had to go through all sorts of craziness. So why is he entitled to new due process in this case?
No, we are talking about what we have heard. I've asked the Ethics Committee to review that. Yeah. He has said he'd be open. It will cooperate with any review. Excuse me?
Do you believe John Conyers is accused?
I don't know who they are. Do you? They have not really come forward. And that gets
so you don't know if you believe the accusations?
That's for the Ethics Committee to review. But I believe he understands what is at stake here, and he will do the right thing. But all of these non-disclosure agreements have to go. And by the way, some of them are there to protect the victim because they didn't want some of it to be public. But that's over. In other words, if the victim wants to be private, she can be. He or she can be.
I guess it goes back to what is the
non-disclosure agreements aren't there to protect the person signing it.
Gary, you don't understand.
You don't sign a non-disclosure agreement on yourself so that you don't tell the public, so that to protect yourself.
Right.
You sign it because you're assuring the person on the other end that you don't disclose whatever
money
it is
they
that,
paid you.
Well, whatever it is that they don't, not just the money, the accusations,
the story, all of it.
So whoever, if it was important for you to remain anonymous, then the accused have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and maybe that happened.
So let's talk about what we're talking about, folks. If you haven't heard this yet, this may be breaking news to some folks. What is going on in D.C.?
Okay, so basically, let's just walk through a typical, what we understand is accusations and of sexual misconduct of any kind, or it could be sexual harassment. Basically what happens in the workplace is somebody will go to HR or something like that, human resources, and they will complain about a boss or a colleague or something like that, and then they'll go through their process, and maybe if it's bad enough, it's like rape or something like that, or maybe you're accusing from the outside, like somebody it could be somebody anywhere. You end up going and filing a police report, and then maybe you go to the actual criminal court, and if not criminal court, then you would go to a civil court. Maybe you're suing them for money, and maybe there'll be a settlement afterwards. The
Goldman family with O.J. Simpson. They went to a civil court,
right?
But to receive money,
and that wasn't actually sexual misconduct. That was wrongful death because of the murder and all that stuff.
Right? But I mean, it was violence in one form or another. And I'm just relating it because it went through criminal court and got thrown out, and then he went to civil court and he won.
Right.
So you could do that in a sense if you're assaulted, and the police don't. If they file the criminal charges and it goes to court in front of a jury and he's released, you could still file civil charges against that individual.
Right, and basically what happens is you got to have the money to pay for your lawyer, and then if there's a settlement, something has to be worked out where you're going to end up paying for that settlement, whether you just have the money in your bank account, or maybe you have to make payments over X amount of years, and this is money that you're out, you know. And also, if it's something where a criminal case went through and you're found guilty, you could serve some time, and you're definitely going to have a criminal record and possibly even register for the rest of your life as a sex offender.
Okay, but in D.C. that don't happen.
Well, or one more thing, if you avoid the criminal case and you go through civil, you still have that on you, that
tainted.
Yeah, because you people know that you settled or were ordered to pay for this misconduct, sexual misconduct or sexual harassment or something like that. So what Congress decided to do is what is Congress known for? What is our government known for? It's centralized socialization of everything. They decided we need to socialize the sexual abuse industry.
Right.
Or the sexual abuse industrial complex.
Yeah, we need to rein this thing in and control it from the inside.
Yeah, so they decided, and the reason, and this is speculation on my part, so I'm going to just warn you guys. I'm not telling you something that I know for a fact, but I have to conclude, based on what we've learned this past week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, is that apparently this is such a problem that they needed. How do you agree? How do you get everybody to sign a program into law? Everybody signs in to where we all just pay for each other's sexual abuse.
Because we're all going to do it at one point in time.
It's so rampant.
I know we're going to share the responsibility, Carrie.
Right.
It's a team effort.
Share. Oh, my gosh. So that's literally what's happening. They've literally socialized the sexual abuse industrial complex within the halls of Congress. And the reason that this was so this was such something that was so attractive to them was not just so that they can spread the losses around to everybody, but that, well, they don't have to come out of pocket at all. This is all going to be funded with taxpayer money. So it's not like they all chipped in their own money into a pool and say, all right, we're just gonna make sure all your children and your wives and your husbands are hidden because we're raping everybody around here. They're not just going to do that out of pocket. We're going to actually have the slush fund be funded by the taxpayer. And also, why don't we just make it a rule that we make sure that all these allegations that we're going to have, because that's what we do around here, is just assault everybody that we've come into contact with. We're going to make sure that all this gets swept under the rug, because the most important things that our constituents don't find out about it, because if they do, then we are going to lose elections. Which, by the way, they've got to know amongst each other that everybody's doing all these assaults, these sexual abuse, and they don't even bring it up to throw each other under the bus during election time. I mean, think about it. If Brian and I were senators, let's say Brian is the Republican senator from Idaho, and I'm the Democrat from Florida, and we're all involved in this slush fund, and Brian knows that I went through something in Florida with an intern or something, and it came out of the slush fund. I don't know, cool, 500,000 came out. Yeah.
Mine wasn't that much.
Don't matter.
But you take
Here's the thing. My election time comes up. Brian knows what I was accused of, what was swept under the rug, and what does Brian do? Doesn't say a damn word.
Can't.
Why?
I can't.
Why?
Probably because I got something on me too.
That's right. It's like everybody. And I'm wondering, somebody brought up this week, what about the women in Congress? Are the women? They've got to sign on to this. Could you imagine this bill coming across the deck?
They interviewed, and I almost made it the stack of stuff today, but I thought it was such a non-issue. And the interview was so slow and so drug out. Better that I just tell you.
Yeah.
But there's a woman in Congress who came out to CNN or MSNBC and said, yes, I've been touched. Like somebody will touch my leg or hold their hand on my leg a little too long, or they'll put it back on my leg again, or just, us women, we know, women in Congress. I'm like, really? So why the hell y'all ain't speaking up about this? So I do have this interview, Deface the Nation. This was last Sunday that this came out, Jackie Speary. So, it's a week old, but it's so absolutely relevant right now. It's actually more relevant now than it was a week ago because of everything that's come out in this past week, and John Conyers stepping aside. He's still in Congress. He's still represented, but he's stepping aside from his House Judiciary. I got it in big, bold letters right there. Conyers steps aside as ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee. So he's still in Congress, but he's just stepping aside. But this was, like I said, on Deface the Nation, on Jackie Speary, and this is what she had to say on the Good Old Boys Club.
Okay.
It is perhaps the worst I've seen in 30 years of working on these issues. The Old Boys Club was pretty bad. You're saying it's worse now?
Well, I think it's worse in part because we have a system in place that allows for the harasser to go unchecked, doesn't pay for the settlement himself, and is never identified. So the Office of Compliance, to which a victim must apply or complain, is a place that has really been an enabler of sexual harassment for these many years because of the way it's constructed.
As Congress and the larger culture tries to figure out what the standard is for treating accusers who come forward, something better than what has been, where they've been blocked, but also something that doesn't allow false accusations, how does that standard get determined in your mind?
Well, first of all, we have to make sure that a complaint is taken seriously and that the person who is the victim is not somehow tortured or intimidated into not filing the complaint. That's what it is right now in Congress. There's a 1 month period where you're counseled. There's another month where you go through mandatory mediation and you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement at the front end, and then you have to have a month of cooling off period. I mean, that is truly ridiculous.
Wow. So that entire process is like 3 months mandatory.
So that Democrat is different than what Nancy Pelosi said, for sure.
Well, Nancy Pelosi seemed to be beaten up on due process. The woman needs due process. Yeah, you're right.
Nobody gets due process.
Well, like she said, you sign the non-disclosure agreement on the front end,
right?
Which is, it protects the abusers. And I wonder how could you not see where this ends up? And it ends up, and like she said, it enables the sexual abuse. I wonder, it's hard for me to imagine, but I wonder if they were thinking that this was the best way to handle it for both, for the actual accused, and that this would somehow be a good thing to do, and it had good intentions somehow, but it ends up enabling the abusers because they're like, oh wow, so let me get this straight. I don't have to pay for anything out of pocket. I don't have to
no court. I don't have to expose myself, and I don't have to do a rape kit. I don't have to go to the police.
And nothing happens at all because of the cool down period and all the other month-long things. There's 3 different things. Each one is 30-day minimum period that it takes for a grand total of 3 whole months. By that time, you might have just wore out the victim. She might just be like, oh, I don't even know. Forget it, whatever. And in the meantime, you got this non-disclosure agreement that you have to sign if you want to see any kind of money. And how did they not know that this, if you have somebody who likes to abuse, kind of like your Joe Biden or whatever, who just can't stop himself.
Can't stop touching children.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, well, I know what the deal is. I know what it's gonna cost me. Nothing. I'm not gonna be held accountable for anything. And the victims will be taken care of financially. It's like, they talk about the joke about how you got these people who go out and use a government check, Jerry Springer, to pay for his hookers, which that's actually a true story. Jerry Springer used government checks when he was mayor of Cincinnati to pay for hookers.
And it bounced, and that's how we found out.
How does it bounce as a government check?
Well, the backstory to that was it was part of her payroll, and he had done it before. He actually had a string of women on the payroll for men who came into town. And she had gotten stiffed once before, and she said, I'm going to the press about this.
Oh.
I'm exposing you.
Oh.
Because you're not paying me.
Okay. So she got mad and told him.
Oh, she got real mad. Oh, yeah.
I don't blame her. So, well, in this case, instead of writing the government check, you just have a program where the money gets allocated automatically. So you don't have to write a check. None of that dirty stuff. You just make it happen. They probably have a whole office. I'll bet you they have an office that is staffed with permanent employees whose job it is to process these things.
Well, that's funny you say that. You must have been looking at the show notes.
No, I didn't even see.
Female employee of Representative Conyers, quote, one of my duties while working for Conyers was to keep a list of women that I assumed he was having an affair with. And call them at his request, and if necessary, have them flown in using congressional resources.
Oh my gosh!
All while Conyers, and end quote, all while Conyers paying off women to the tune of $17 million in 17 years, and at which time his wife was serving 3 years in prison for taking bribes on the Detroit City Council.
His wife was in prison?
For 3 years for taking bribes on the Detroit City Council.
This swamp is ridiculous. How does this
folks,
go? Where are the whistleblowers?
Right, now I'm not laughing at this because this is funny, folks. I'm laughing at this because this is how absurd it's gotten. This is how insane it has fallen so far.
This is definitely a great argument for term limits, because without term limits,
he's been in since 65.
Yeah, and the problem is you get these people who they don't know anything else. They only know that in life you have the people, we the people with their taxpayer money, pay for you to do whatever you want to whoever women you want at any time and anywhere.
So if you're 52 years old, the year that you were born was when he first started serving.
Right.
If you're 52. He
Right.
started his illustrious, long-lived career.
I wonder if he thinks, well, am I the only one? I heard that he's taking down everybody with him.
He is. I think he's like 81 years old.
I think it was Gateway pundit Jim Hoft.
Really?
Our buddy Jim Hoft said, wrote an article today that said that Conyers is hinting that he's taking everybody down with him.
Wow.
He didn't.
Well,
he knew that everybody else was doing it, but I guess he didn't think there was anything wrong with it. How could you think there's anything wrong with it when there's an actual government office designed to deal with this stuff?
I mean, well, true that, but once you spend the first $1 million on settlements.
Well, hold on about the $17 million. That's grand total all Congress. All of Congress.
No, for him over 17 years.
No, I thought the $17 million was
total
what the slush fund for this program has paid out. His was a chunk, obviously, but there's a bunch of other congressmen out there who are also dipping into this. And there was a conspiracy rolling around out there, which I love to entertain. Until it's debunked, you tell me otherwise. You guys let me know. You guys let me know which rabbit hole to dive down head first. And somebody was speculating out there that maybe, because we're talking $17 million, maybe this isn't about sexual abuse at all. This might be some sort of a crazy, the toilet seats that cost $1 million.
Oh.
The hammer. The hammer
right.
for the mechanic, the government, the military mechanic. They say that, well, it's not, a toilet seat doesn't cost $1 million. A hammer doesn't cost $500,000. They pay that because they're actually paying $20 for the hammer, and the other $500,000 is going to a secret program that we got to hide where that money's going. Well, somebody was speculating out there that if somebody needed money, they can call up a female that's with them that's in on this, right?
Right.
And say, hey, we need some money. We need you to accuse Conyers of sexual assault. That way, when the judge awards her the money, she gets just a cut. She gets a little piece of it. And the rest of it goes towards maybe a congressional race or something like that.
Wow.
So literally, it could be like a money laundering scam. I mean, think about it. Wouldn't that make sense? You have a program set up where everybody remains anonymous. Nobody ever finds out about the details of any of this stuff. All you need is to stay out of prison, and by doing so, you send a red herring,
right?
A shill, literally a shill. You send a shill in front of a judge that says, "Yes, Your Honor, he put his hands all over me," and the judge is like, "Oh, well, then we're going to award you $1 million." And then she, because she's in on it, she's just the shill, she takes her check for $15,000, and the other $985,000 goes towards whatever pet project that it could be a re-election campaign fund or something.
Wow.
But here's why I question that. Why would you use, if this, let's just say it was a money laundering and they're hiding where it's coming from, why would you use a sexual scandal program to do it?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm a little skeptical.
You were right. I'm looking at New York, nymag.com, and it says the Washington Post reports that the office had paid more than $17 million for 264 settlements,
right,
and awards to federal employees since '97.
Right.
So $17 million in 20 years.
Yeah, and so far we have one down out of the 264 victims, if you will, victims.
Right.
And we have to credit Mike Cernovich for this. I know
Oh.
BuzzFeed was trying to take credit for it, but it was Mike Cernovich who uncovered this and fed the news to BuzzFeed to break it.
The CBS or CNN or whatever referred to. I think this is it. They talked about. Oh yeah, they even called Mike Cernovich a,
conspiracy theorist.
He has been known to peddle in conspiracies. Here's the nightly news that does a little clip on
Democratic Congressman John Conyers tonight acknowledging he settled a claim of wrongful termination with a staff member. BuzzFeed News reporting a woman was paid just over $27,000 in 2015 after she claimed the congressman fired her because she refused to provide sexual favors. Conyers said in a statement, quote, "The mere making of an allegation does not mean it is true. I expressly and vehemently denied the allegations made against me and continue to do so. My office resolved the allegations with an express denial of liability." Tonight, the House Ethics Committee has launched an investigation into Conyers, the longest-serving member of the House.
The present system may have been okay in the dark ages. It is not appropriate for the 21st century.
To make a harassment complaint in Congress, a victim has to go to the Office of Compliance, where they face up to 30 days of counseling, mandatory confidential mediation, and a mandatory 30-day cooling-off period before they can file a lawsuit.
So the victim has a 30-day cooling off.
Oh, absolutely.
The victim.
Yeah.
You got to cool your
jets. They should call it a stalling period.
You got to cool your jets there, sister. You better start pumping the brakes.
Yeah, this woman is obviously a hothead.
If they decide to settle, they are typically forced to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Deborah Katz is a civil rights attorney who's represented staffers complaining of harassment.
The way that these agreements are written require people never to speak of the incident again, never to talk about the settlement again, never to disparage the member.
The Conyers settlement documents originally came from right-wing activist Mike Cernovich, known to peddle conspiracy theories.
I'd like to know which one was a conspiracy theory.
Oh, I think he was in on the Pizzagate stuff, which, by the way, has not exactly been debunked.
No, not debunked.
According to BuzzFeed, the settlement money came from Conyers' office, not the Office of Compliance Fund that's paid out $15 million in the last 10 years for all kinds of different workplace claims. Either way, you, the taxpayer, paid the bill for bad behavior. And this case shows it's costing more than anyone knows. Casey Hunt, NBC News, the Capitol.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel.
Shut up. We would definitely tell him to shut up.
I do that for you folks. I take the heat of these horrible ads just to bring you the real news, because you don't want to sit there and listen to the ads.
Right.
Anyway, so you see what's going on. Cernovich peddling conspiracy.
Who's known to peddle in right-wing conspiracies. Whatever.
Anyway, the whole point is, folks, is that this is real. This is blowing up. This is the Democrat Party, and they're screaming nothing but the reason why, this is the whole reason why they're screaming Roy Moore, Roy Moore, Roy Moore, is because they got to get the heat off these Democrats.
Oh, my gosh. They know that the end times is near. It's called scorched earth policy. It's, right. In war, as you get defeated, you, instead of just retreating, you burn the city down because you just don't want the other side to have it.
Right.
So you burn it all down.
Right.
That's scorched earth policy.
Stormy Patriot 22. I am not tired of winning either. We are not tired of winning. So you were saying before, though, that you think that Conyers is going to bring names. It's going to bring it down.
Yeah, I should have probably looked that up real quick. But yeah,
while you do that, the New York Times posted up President Trump weighed in on the widening sexual harassment scandal on Capitol Hill, saying that Congress should release the names of lawmakers who have settled harassment claims. The president, and then they go on. You got to love the New York Times. The president has himself been accused of inappropriate sexual behavior, including harassment and assault.
He's been accused, but that's already been debunked. I don't think anything.
Kerry called his victims liars.
Yeah, well,
his accusers. They didn't say victims.
Oh,
they said accusers, liars.
Well,
whatever happened to those accusers, Kerry?
I think one of them, as soon as she came out, he immediately said, "I'm filing lawsuits against these people for libel and slander," and they immediately were like, "Oh, he can do that." Well, are you telling the truth? Well, I mean,
I'm telling you what I'm getting paid for. And that's the truth.
So Democrat Conyers threatens to take the whole damn swamp down with him is the title.
The Gateway Pundit.
Yeah, Gateway Pundit. That was the title of the article. The lawyer for Representative Conyers hinted the Michigan Democrat may take down many others with him if he is pushed too hard. So here's the quote. Peter Hassan described for the Daily Caller the remarkable vague threat emanating for the attorney representing John Conyers, and here it is. The attorney for Democrat Michigan Representative John Conyers, who is accused of continuously sexually harassing his female staffers. And why wouldn't he? I mean, there's a program set up to deal with that. Defended Conyers by indicating that there are allegations against many members of House and Senate. Conyers' attorney, Harry Reid, released a statement defending the Democrat and pushing back against the, quote, disturbing allegations. The bizarre statement was written in all caps and referred to both Reid and Conyers in the third person. That is funny.
So he's really upset, apparently. Apparently he's really upset.
Yeah, so Jim ended up with, or ended it off by saying, this could get fun. And he also included the statement release. Let's see. It says, that's weird. It says, here is the statement released by Mr. Reid, but then
it's gone.
Yeah, it's not up here. So, but I did see it earlier, and yes, the whole thing from top to bottom was in all caps. It kind of reminds me of my dad. My dad doesn't like to, he just keeps the caps lock on. It's not that he's trying to drive home a point or scream in text.
You don't have to yell at me, man.
It's like, no, my caps lock is stuck, man. It's stuck. I don't know. That's how my dad types. So he's not yelling. So I don't know if that's the kind of person that this lawyer is, but it was in all caps, and it's interesting. He's going to take down many others. Interesting.
Well, the taking down of many others. Folks, this was an article that was put out and put together by
who?
I believe this was it Judicial Watch?
I don't know.
Okay.
Let's just flip a coin.
Judicial Watch put this article out, and what they did was they referenced all the sexual accusations that have been made. There have been 24 of them made in 2017 against Democrats, and 19 of them happened in November. And these are all the ones that weren't reported on by mainstream news, CNN, MSNBC, that type of thing.
Why is so many of them happen in 1 month? That's kind of weird.
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, the whole thing with Roy Moore heated up within the whole month.
Oh, the accusations came out as that was happening.
Oh, yeah. So they started. So why not ramp up and talk about nothing but Roy Moore? Because we don't want to talk about, and I've said a couple of these before, but the 4 new women who came out against Bill Clinton. Congresswoman accuses Bob Filner of sexually assaulting her. Democrat Raul resigns his leadership position, won't seek re-election over sexual allegations. Congressional candidate Dave Alcon is arrested for stalking in New Mexico. 10 women accuse Colorado Democrat lawmaker Steve Lebsack of sexual harassment. Colorado House Speaker Christina Duran, that's a woman, accused of covering up sexual allegations against Democrat Steve Lebsack.
What is with these names?
I don't know. And then this guy who railed against Donald Trump and the Billy Bush tape, lawmaker Dan Schoen, resigns over sexual harassment allegations. 3rd woman accuses California Senator Tony Mendoza sexual harassment controversy. Senate leader Kevin DeLeon. Rander commissions President Phil Ayer charged on multiple counts of child pornography.
Oh, that's not good.
Democrat. Woman claims New York Democrat Governor Andrew Cuomo ignored her pleas to investigate one of his staffers who was allegedly sexually harassed by her. Democrat Representative Calvin Smear accused of sexual misconduct. Florida Democrat Party President Sally Brown resigns amidst sexual harassment controversy. New Mexico Democrat legislator Senate Michael Padilla, that guy again, accused of the one I couldn't pronounce his name earlier, accused of sexual harassment. Oh, that was the Padilla. He was at the George Soros event.
Right.
Oh, how about that, huh? Colorado Democrat Representative Paul Rosenthal, accused of sexual harassment and groping. Illinois Senator Ira Silverstein, accused of sexual harassment. Missouri Representative Josh Peters, accused of sexual harassment. Oklahoma Democrat lawmaker Will Forkiller. I swear to you folks, I had to look that name up because I know that y'all would be saying, that ain't true, Brian. No, it is true. His name is Will Forkiller.
Like F-O-R?
F-O-U-R.
F-O-U-R. Forkiller.
Yeah, Will Forkiller.
Okay, I'll take it.
So how do you get elected? Because you're a Democrat in Oklahoma.
Right.
Will Forkiller, accused of sexual harassment. Nevada Senate Mark Menardo resigns amid numerous sexual harassment allegations. Oregon Democrat lawmaker David Gomberg, accused of inappropriately touching women. Former Washington Democrat lawmaker Brendan Williams, accused of sexual harassment. Connecticut Councilman Scott Chamberlain resigns after Fury profile revealed. Florida Senator Jeff Clemens resigns over sexual misconduct. Ohio Democrat governor candidate Justice William O'Neill,
which is weird because I didn't know he was running.
Didn't either. Brags about his sexual history on Facebook.
Oh, but he's a Democrat, right?
Yeah, you allowed to do that.
Oh, that's why I don't know who. Yeah, okay. I didn't know he was running because I only pay attention to the Republican gubernatorials. Anyway.
That's your Democrat lineup.
Well, we're getting close to the point where Brian's going to have to list off those who were not accused.
It would have been shorter.
Yeah.
The list would have been shorter than the Democrats. The list who didn't.
That sounds like draining the swamp.
Do so. A lot of them resign, folks. A lot of them resign.
And if they don't, then some of them may end up getting charged, convicted, and whatnot, or may resign soon.
Right.
Which would be really, really good.
Judicial Watch was skeptical about this whole thing with John Conyers, and they said that the Democratic colleagues have already called for House Ethics Committee probe, but there's little hope Conyers will be punished since the notoriously remiss panel let him off the hook the last time.
Oh, my gosh.
It was investigated his corrupt acts, determining that he had accepted responsibility for the violations prior. A former staffer said the legislator, a civil rights icon and founding member of the Congressional Black Caucus, is untouchable.
If you accept responsibility,
which he did,
then don't you also know that punishment's
coming?
No,
that's the punishment.
That you what? Oh, come on! I've had the indignity to have to accept responsibility.
I can't do this responsibility. Oh,
do you know
that's
what
my punishment?
I've been through? I have served my debt to society by going in front of a private panel, away from the public eye, behind closed doors, and told a couple of people in the Good Old Boys Network,
right,
that I accept responsibility, and I had to make them believe it.
I had to make it. Ladies and gentlemen of the supposed jury.
Oh, my God.
Come on, help me out.
Oh, my God. This is so sad.
Can I call for a lifeline?
This is so sad.
Can I phone a friend? So, folks, this is the Democrat Party. This show has been a positive, exposing, uplifting show because the Democrat Party is in the throes of death. It's like Jim Carrey, the one scene where he did in The Mask.
Yeah.
Where he was shot like a million times.
Yeah.
But he had the mask on, so he's invincible.
Okay.
And he did the.
Oh, he was doing the over-dramatic.
Right.
Death
He
scene,
fell down, and he's up, and he's down, and finally, one last. And then that's when he accepted the award. He said, "You really like me."
Yes, I remember
You
that.
really like me. So the Democrats are in that epic Hollywood method acting throw of death.
I'm telling you, when they, not to get off the top by any means.
Don't you worry, I'm coming back to these
Okay.
old bags.
Okay, when they don't accept the fact that we aren't accepting the false allegations anymore, like the racism, the misogyny, and all this kind of stuff. And in Moore's case, possibly, it seems like sexual misconduct. We're just not accepting the false accusations anymore. But like you said, the method acting is going on. They're like, don't worry, they're not believing it now, but this works every time. It's always worked. Stay the course. Don't come out of character.
Never.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing right now. They're staying in character. They're going to take this all the way to the end. And they learned from the George W. Bush administration.
You can destroy a man like this.
It takes a long time.
Or a woman.
When they started in 2003, was it 2005? It was 2005, I think. It took all the way until 2008. So I think it was 5 years. So 2003 to 2008
right.
took them 5 years.
They let 9/11 cool off for a year and a half.
Right. They waited till the invasion of Iraq.
Right.
And then, boom, they started hammering. They never let up, and it didn't seem like it was working at first. And, in fact, that was before George W. Bush won re-election against Kerry, so it had not really fully taken its course yet. So it didn't work by the time 2004 came around, but by the time 2008 came around, it did finally take its toll, and that's how we got our first communist president of the United States. Actually, probably not first, because Woodrow Wilson was, but anyway.
Well, first outspoken, raised by influence and mentored at the very least.
And he was a card-carrying member.
Frank Marshall Davis was a full-blown, he was on the books.
Card-carrying member. So was his mother, and so was his maternal grandfather.
The McCarthy era, he was exposed as a full-blown communist.
All right, so back to the allegations.
Okay, so
seriousness
of the allegations. Well, this is the Democrat Party in the throes of death, folks. We've got Nancy crazy is a bat Pelosi.
Okay.
Bat crazy.
Yeah.
77 years old. Now, folks, I'm not making fun of old people here. I'm not. My father is a seasoned citizen, and he's sharp, whippersnapper.
Donald Trump will be 77 in his last year.
Right. Trump just turned 70.
He was 70 when he was inaugurated.
And June 14th was his birthday. He turned 71.
Right.
A week before my birthday.
But you have to be able to recognize whether somebody has gone senile or not. And in Trump's case, clearly not the case.
No,
not now.
We're both Geminis, real sharp.
Okay, and then you go to Nancy Pelosi, and you could see that she needs to be put in a quiet room, I think.
Yes, I mean, but here's what I'm saying, though. These are the people leading this party. Nancy Pelosi, 77 years old. Maxine, I'm literally a bat. Waters, 79 years old. I did not know that Dianne Feinstein, Frankenstein, whatever you want to call her, 84 years old. John McCain, 81 years. Well, Brian, Democrats. Yeah, I'm talking about Democrats. John McCain, 81 years old. Patrick Leahy, 77 years old. I thought John Conyers was 81. They've got it here as 88 years old.
Oh, my goodness. If I'm working at 88, just somebody put me down.
What about Robert K. Byrd?
I don't know. How old was he?
I think he was in his 90s before he left.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, there's the term limit things is obviously important. There comes a time where it's like, what are we electing here? These states that are electing these senators
Okay, Robert K. Byrd,
Yeah.
a Democrat, and pictures of him as a full-blown dragon wizard of the KKK. That's why we call him K. Byrd. Was a senator from 1959 to 2010. Is that real?
That's unbelievable.
This is on Wikipedia.
Wow.
I guess maybe that's when he died.
Grand Wizard Dragon something of the KKK?
Yeah, and Wikipedia does show the Ku Klux Klan members. He's on it.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. He died in 2010.
Was he serving when he died?
It says 2010 is when he died.
Died in office, huh?
He was born in 1917.
Wow.
So he was just shy.
93.
He was just shy of being a hunch. He was in 93.
93, yeah. Wow. Well, there you go.
That was Hillary Clinton's mentor and favorite.
Yeah, I think once you hit 85, nothing against. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I hit 85, if I'm making policy, I think people that are 85 at best should give advice at most. Give advice. Just to have them available for advice, but to actually be making real decisions that affect people's life for the next, hundreds of years, depending on what kind of policy we're implementing. I don't know.
Well, and here's the thing, too. There've been articles that I've read about the Democrat Party and why they're losing a grip and why they're losing the millennials. Is because they're preaching from an era that is completely removed from even an era that we vaguely remember.
Right.
They were
this is foreign.
80 years ago.
Totally foreign to them.
I mean, our grandparents just passed away just shortly. These folks were right there.
Right.
So they're speaking and governing from an era that is so long been gone, so far detached. And then you got the creepy Joe Biden. Oh my goodness, folks.
So Joe Biden hasn't
talk about this.
Yeah, well, him, and then I guess after that Charlie Rose, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so the thing about Joe Biden is he hasn't been accused by anybody yet, but Brian showed me a video earlier in the week.
PJW. And by the way, Joe Biden has been in office as a politician 1973.
Okay, and then he became VP.
Right. So 73, the year I was born, was the time he entered office.
And I was worried about him running against. First of all, I was worried about him running in 2016 because he's just got that kind of old, likable Uncle Joe guy. Looks like somebody would be pretty cool to have a beer with or whatnot. And until you see this video.
Not watch your children, but maybe have a beer.
Yeah, once you see this video, you won't be able to have those feelings about it. I think it's a great video because I can no longer unsee this video. But and we're going to show you in a second, right? Do you have it?
Yeah.
You can show it? It's pretty
PJW
bad.
does a warning on it.
Yeah,
there's people in the scope that says horrendous, gross, and sick.
Yeah.
All right, I can't do. I won't do it then.
You won't do it?
I won't do it then.
All right.
I don't want it. This is a family-friendly show.
I mean, is he cussing it? I mean,
no, he doesn't cuss.
Yeah, it's creepy. I couldn't make it through it. I got about halfway through it, and I was just like,
so you want me to play it? You couldn't get through it?
Well, somebody's got to make me get through it.
I couldn't get through it either.
The important thing
I admit, I pulled away.
Yeah, the important thing about the video is that if you ever thought of him as that guy that's like, oh yeah, I could have a beer with him. He's a cool guy. He looks like one of them guys that would be the center of attention in a gathering or a party or whatever, and he would be able to crack the jokes and get everybody laughing. But yeah, so there's some people that
he's 75 years old. So he'll be 78.
Yeah, he's 75 now. Yeah, so he would be older than Trump will be when he's done with 8 years by the time he were to assume office if he were to win. Oh, you going to play it?
I've been getting requests.
Yeah, I think there's people saying, show it. All right, I guess you guys beat him up. But I'm going to tell you right now, if it grosses you out too much, don't turn this off. This is Smith Radio. And you need to see this because I want it to be ingrained in your brain.
Okay, it's 10 minutes long. I'm only going to play a couple minutes.
Okay, that sounds good because I think it gets to the point.
Right.
By the time I got halfway through, I actually had it wasn't that it was boring, cuz trust me, I as somebody that doesn't have cable, my video entertainment comes from YouTube.
Right. Me too. Yeah.
And if there's a 10-minute video, they've got to actually do something to keep me riveted. If not, I'll get bored and I'm like, all right, I'll skip to the next video. That's not the case with this video. That's not the case. It's just that I was physically ill halfway through it. And I was like, okay, I get the point. I'm done. So, anyway.
Ex-Secret Service agent claims Biden engaged in Weinstein-level groping. Well, here's Uncle Joe, folks.
Service agent told Cassandra Fairbanks that Biden would, quote, mess with every single woman or teen, and that a Christmas get-together at the VP's house had to be cancelled, quote, because Biden would grope all of our wives' and girlfriends' asses. He also said that the service often had to protect...
Sorry about that, folks. He started it part of the way through. You can jam
In light of the sexual abuse
here we
scandal
go.
sweeping the entertainment industry, the media, and Washington, D.C., we need to talk about creepy Uncle Joe. Well, that's not my invention. That's what the Washington Post labelled him back in 2015. Although written in a weird tongue-in-cheek style, the article cites numerous instances where Joe Biden made women uncomfortable by touching and grabbing them. But here's something way creepier than that. The way Uncle Joe behaves around children. Now, let's be clear. Joe Biden has admitted no wrongdoing. No accusations of sexual harassment have been levelled against him, at least publicly. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But we need to talk about this because one Twitter thread alone, posted by activist and commentator Richard Mills, highlighting the subject, has been retweeted nearly 20,000 times. This is going viral. Biden is also signalling that he plans to run for president in 2020. Current polls show that Biden would beat Trump. This could become a major issue on the campaign trail. So let's take a look. This is probably the most famous example. Biden leans uncomfortably close to a 13-year-old girl, whispers something in her ear, then tries to kiss her as she instinctively jerks away.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, well, nice to see you guys.
Now, this one actually made the news at the time. They said the 13-year-old girl, Margaret Coons, didn't think what Biden said or did was creepy. Except she didn't say anything. It was her father, Senator Christopher Coons, who claims she said that. I reached out to Margaret Coons to clarify whether or not she thought it was creepy and to ask her what Biden said. I received no response. The official story is that Biden was reassuring the girl that his own daughter was 13 when he was sworn in and not to be nervous about being in front of cameras. Except that in all the years Biden was sworn in as senator, his daughter was never at the age of 13. But I'm sure that that's all completely normal. In this clip, Biden appears to grope the chest area of a little girl. The close-up shows her visibly pull away right as it happens. But I'm sure that's completely normal. Biden seems to have a thing for touching, smelling, and stroking girls' hair, as seen in this clip.
Yeah, dude, that was too much. That is just too much.
But I'm sure that's completely normal. In this clip, Biden strokes the girl's hair before whispering something in her ear.
Did you want to get vice president? There we go.
He then asks for a picture with the girl alone.
Can I go with just alone?
Senator Jim Rich then says, Dad's going to stand pretty close.
Dude, how do you do that?
Dad's going to stand pretty close.
Biden appears to tell the girl, quote, if I was young.
By the way, if I was young, I'd choose parties.
But I'm sure that's all Completely normal. In this clip, Biden kisses a young girl 3 times as she squirms uncomfortably, while he says, "Don't tell anybody."
Title. He's entitled. This is a long day. Walking. Don't tell me what.
Oh my God!
But I'm sure
These
that's
aren't his.
completely normal. In this clip, Biden tells a girl, quote, "No serious guys until you're 31," which is one of his favourite things to say to children.
Lucky man. Lucky man.
He's having fun. Thank you, sir.
See, these are his kids or his grandkids.
He then poses with the girl for a photo while putting his hand around her midriff.
This is getting so bad.
And then whispers something into her ear.
Everybody else is looking forward to
But I'm sure that's completely normal. In this clip, Biden asks another of his favourite questions, how old the child is.
Come on over here. Good to see you, Molly. How old are you?
12.
Before weirdly stroking the face of her younger sister.
Grandpa's one of the great guys.
That's nice of you.
No, I'm not saying. He knows I am.
The mother seems keen to leave quickly, but I'm sure that's all completely normal. In this clip, Biden again tells a young girl, no dating until you're 30, before putting his hand near her breast.
You remember what I told you last time I saw you? Do you remember what I told you? No, not smile. No date till you're 30.
All right.
I'm thorough. I have thrown up.
That's how far I got. Okay, so I'm looking at the thing right now.
That's where I got. I didn't get much further than this.
That's the halfway point. I don't even know what's after that, but I definitely got the picture.
Okay,
and,
we got somebody saying, okay, that's enough.
Yeah. Oh, actually, a couple minutes ago, they said make it stop. So, but hey, you guys begged for it. You guys begged for it. So, and I'm glad you saw it because you can't unsee that, and you can't when he's doing his shtick where he's like this happy-go-lucky party guy, and he's like, "Hey man, you want a beer?" You cannot unsee what you just saw, and you can't get fooled by his, the tongue of the snake. I mean, he's just it's just he's not going to fool you. He's not going to fool you.
We got a question. When will he answer for this? Never.
I don't. None of the girls are. I guess it's the totality of it. I'm really glad that Paul Joseph Watson made it. The compilation. You could see a pattern there. I don't know. It's just weird. Like if you see somebody do that to somebody else, there might, the pattern is what's really disturbing.
Well, yeah, the fact that it's the same habitual thing over and over and over again. The smelling of the hair, the kissing, the don't tell anybody, don't date anybody till you're 31.
We didn't get to the part where I shut it off. It was right after that. The part that I finally shut it off is when, because I totally get when you tell like a young teen, hey, no dating till you're 31. It's kind of a ha-ha, chuckle thing. But he says it to a 6-year-old, maybe 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, look, I have a daughter, and I remember exactly what she was like when she was 5 years old. They don't get that joke at all.
No. It doesn't mean anything to them.
Right. They don't get that joke. It's not funny to them. They don't even understand it. I mean, what are you trying to get the parents to laugh? I mean, to be honest with you, if somebody did that to my daughter at that age, I'd be like, okay, we gotta go. And now, that's pretty much my response at that point. So I kind of get the joke. There's a certain age that a girl gets to where all of a sudden you can kind of get a laugh out of that.
If she's in the dating scene, and you like maybe if she's 16, 17, you'd be like, hey, no dating till you're 31.
Well, as soon as a girl gets to an age where you know that they're going to start, boy or girl, they start looking at the opposite sex differently than they did in the past.
Right.
And you make a joke about dating, you're going to get an awkward chuckle out of it. I mean, that's just the way it goes. But not a 5 or 6-year-old. They are just going to be like, what the hell is this dirty old man talking about?
Right.
And so we didn't get to that part of the video, but it was right after where we stopped it. And when I got to that point, I just thought, okay, this guy's got a major problem.
He can't control himself.
No, he's got a major problem. And that's why we need to keep this guy away from children,
right?
And
judicial
power and all that.
Judicial Watch has also discovered that flight logs show Bill Clinton flew to Orgy Island 26 times on convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein's jet. I said Judicial Watch. Sorry, folks. That was Fox News that reported that.
That VP did that?
Yeah, Fox News did. Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton.
Oh,
sorry.
yeah,
I shifted gears.
Okay.
But we were led to believe it was only like a half dozen times or a dozen times, but they're saying flight logs show 26 times Bill Clinton went to this exclusive island.
And I don't really understand the law very well, but I think it's understood by the people that fly to these private islands, and you might have a little bit of insight to this, but I always assumed
what?
No.
Why would I know?
Oh, because you're the one that told me that the best thing to do when you become a billionaire is to go buy an island and set up your own constitution and have your own laws and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I never did. I never even knew that was a possibility to go out and buy an island.
I asked the right people. You can buy an island.
Yeah.
You can establish it as your own country per se, and then become a diplomat back to America.
Okay, so you may have some insight on this. I don't know, but I just assume that I remember seeing this one documentary. It was actually almost like a To Catch a Predator type show.
Yeah,
where they track this guy down in the Philippines. He's American. He's like an old man. He's like in his 60s or 70s. And he's been accused of going to the Philippines and purchasing really, really, really young hookers. Really, really young. Like 12 or something like that. And I assumed that if they caught him or had evidence of these accusations, that even though he's in another country, that he could possibly be in legal trouble back in America. And because of that, and the documentary actually led the viewer to believe that. And because of that, I always assumed that if evidence were ever come out about Bill Clinton and the kind of stuff that he was doing at this island, that he would be in trouble.
No, he went to that island on purpose because there ain't nothing illegal about that.
You're right. And now I'm just learning all this. And I think that they get friends with these freakos that have their own islands and they do whatever they want there. And
like you said, if they flew to the Philippines, they could get whatever they wanted.
Right. And I always assumed that these...
Or you go to Haiti and just buy some children, or steal
them. Yeah. Just that's kind of what I think the Clinton Foundation was doing. I think there was a deal worked out where if Epstein were to let him come to his island whenever he wanted to, he would repay him by supplying him with an endless supply of Haitian children.
That and that he would be prosecuted. He could just
how could he be prosecuted? He's on his own island.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he's been convicted for pedophilia anyway.
Right, did time for that.
Right, so...
Sex offender. So,
we need to drain the swamp, people.
Vox.com, V-O-X.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just an awful, atrocious...
Yeah, I mentioned at the beginning of the show.
Okay.
Because you brought Salon.
Same thing, yeah.
Salon, Mother Jones, Vox. Those are the trifecta.
God, Mother Jones.
Yeah, that's the trifecta of propaganda.
Vox came out this week and said, Democrats were wrong about Bill Clinton and shouldn't make the same mistake with Al Franken. Dude, I'm telling you, man, people are throwing the Clintons. The Clintons are done. The Clintons are done.
Did you hear Rush Limbaugh's theory on this?
Oh, okay.
That
I'm going with
Donna
Tucker Carlson, but anyway.
Well, Donna Brazile is throwing Hillary Clinton totally under the bus, throwing Bill Clinton. The Clintons have got to go. She's doing it. She's leading the charge. And that his theory is that she's doing this because the only way to pave the way for a new person to come along to be the Democrat nominee, you need to totally get rid of the Clintons, bury them politically, just get them gone.
Oh, erase the board, a fresh start.
Yeah, and so Donna Brazile is actively doing that by throwing him under the bus, saying that we made a mistake by going with Bill Clinton. Now they're going to destroy his legacy now by saying Well, who was it? Somebody came out. Chelsea Handler came out and finally acknowledged that what's her name that got raped by Clinton, that she apologized to her and said we should have listened to you.
Oh no!
Yeah, Chelsea Handler's saying that now. So now, in the next year or so, there's going to be this slow throwing of the entire Clinton era under the bus for their sexual misdeeds and all this kind of stuff. And rightfully so. That's good that finally people are getting vindicated. All the accusers, all the victims of Bill Clinton are finally getting...
This is interesting. I just keep looking down, and Stormy Patriot did it to me again. Made the comment that this is a way to get Bernie supporters back.
I'm not sure about that, but no, Donna Brazil's supposed to be paving the way for Michelle Obama. Yeah, that's what I meant. Excuse me. Beg your pardon.
Big Mike.
Big Mike. Yes.
What?
Big Mike.
Was she still young? I mean, it's still young.
Yeah, the Obamas are young. Period. I mean, if there was not term limits for president, Obama would have run against Trump.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So, so Michelle is supposed to be running. Donna Brazil is actively clearing the path for, and this is the Rush Limbaugh theory on what Donna Brazil's doing. So
I can see that. I think it might be a little bit. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But here's the problem. The problem right now, and the Charlie Rose thing, all that going on. Yvette Vega, the executive producer, I should have stood up for them. I failed. It is crushing. I deeply regret not helping them. Okay, whatever. I got no sympathy for you there, Yvette. Anywho, I had to get that one out. But this whole thing with the DNC, this is the falling apart. Folks, are you ready? This is the nail in the coffin. This is where the Democrat Party you need fuel in your car to drive it, right?
Makes sense, yeah.
And when you don't have no more fuel, you can't really go nowhere. The Democrat National Party, the DNC, their worst fundraising month of October in 15 years.
Doesn't surprise me. What did I say earlier in the show? We're burying them. We're people who have come out in support of Trump that we affectionately know as the Trump train. They didn't stop. They realized that with the resistance, everybody trying to prevent. I mean, the whole thing is that we wanted the policies that we were promised by Trump to be implemented. And they're not because of the resistance by the Uniparty. And so we're fighting.
It's fueled us even more.
And that fighting, because of their resistance, because of their not just doing what people have done in the past with duly elected presidents, which is accept them as the president of the United States.
Peaceful transition.
Make a peaceful transition. But then also, if you're in the deep state, make it work, right?
Right.
You're working. A lot of them, if you're in the executive branch, this is your boss. And he was put there by the American people through a constitutionally elected process, Democrat process. But anyway, so them fighting has caused us to really double down on our fight for the Trump movement, which, the righteousness always, good over evil, right? Good always defeats evil. Truth always wins over lies. This is why the Democrat Party is really going down in flames. And so it makes sense when you tell us that they are really hurting financially.
October, worst fundraising for the Democrat Party in 15 years.
Who's giving them money? Who would?
George Soros wrote a check for $3.9 million.
Seriously?
I don't know who wrote
Probably.
it. That's what they raised in the month of October, $3.9 million.
Okay.
You may say to yourself, hey, that sounds like a lot of money. Well,
nah,
not really. not compared to the RNC.
Okay.
This is reported by MSNBC too, by the way. The RNC raised $9.2 million in October, which is almost triple, 2.5 times of what the DNC raised. Year to date. Let's go year to date. Year to date, the Democrats have raised $55 million. Now, remember, folks, this is kind of it's like an off year. We're done with the presidency. People have donated out the gills. It's kind of tough. And they're trying to get it geared back up for 2018. So that's where we're trying to get the gears grinding and more money flowing. So it might be a little tough. Year to date, Democrats raised $55 million, while the Republicans raised $113.2 million.
Is that more than double? Almost?
It's just almost more than double.
Wow.
Almost double.
That's amazing.
Okay, what about the real number? What about cash on hand?
As opposed to what? Pledges?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or pledged money, or money that you haven't spent, money that's still in your your bank account.
Okay.
Cash on hand. Democrats have $5 million.
Oh, okay. That's not bad. $5 million.
Cash on hand.
Cash in the duffel bag.
However, that's kind of offset a little bit.
Offset by what?
By their debt.
Oh, okay.
They're claiming a $3.2 million debt.
Okay, so net they're holding. Well, I mean, they're holding $5 million, but if they paid off all their debts, they'd be holding like $2 million,
right?
Or less than $2 million, like 1 point something.
Right.
Yikes.
Republican cash on hand, $42.5 million.
Okay, what about their debt?
Yeah, what about their debt? They're claiming zero.
What?
They're claiming zero debt.
You know, Trump said something. Trump
was
like,
Trump got that book in order.
Trump was probably like, wait. We have how much cash on hand and we have how much debt? Just pay them things. Pay the bill.
Clean this up.
Clean it up.
Let's run this like a machine.
Oh my goodness.
So that's the ticker tape right there. They've got $5 million. Democrats $5 million on hand, $3.2 million in debt. Republicans $42.5 million on hand, zero debt, and outraising Democrats double, outraising them.
It makes sense. That makes sense why they would have double in fundraising over the course of the past 12 months. And the thing is that people are not inherently evil, and people are not inherently dishonest. I think the people that are like that, those bad characters, if you will, are outliers. They're not very common. I think that people want to be good. People want to be truthful. People want society to be better. People want everybody to be peaceful and all that. And you look around, people have brains. They're not stupid. They see that the Democrats, just a little bit of research will reveal that these are the liars. These are the bad people. These are the bad apples. These are the ones that are trying to do the things and implement the things that are going to make society worse for everybody, including your children and grandchildren and subsequent generations down the line, and that the Republicans, by and large, are trying to make the world a better place. And so it gets to the point where you see the fight one way or the other and how viciously you're going, and you realize, especially when you say when it's clear that the ends justify the means for the Democrats at all times.
Oh, they're willing to kill their own.
Yeah.
Willing to circle the wagons and protect their own sexual abuses and violence. And I mean, you go all the way back to Ted Kennedy, who killed a woman. He literally killed a woman.
Yeah, and then lied about exactly what happened and all this kind of stuff. He was drunk, and he waited to report that he drove
till after she was dead.
Well, for like the whole next day.
Right.
He went home and went to sleep. Woke up the next morning and said, "Yeah, I think I killed somebody." I had to sleep it off, but might want to go check it out.
Don't work like that.
Oh, it worked for him.
Yeah, it sure did. He stayed in Congress all the way up until he died.
And I think that people are finally waking up and saying, I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to be a part of this.
Well, like the JFK files that Trump's starting to release now. There's some damaging things that are in those files. Real quick, I'm going to run through this real fast. Just stick with me. JFK Jr. may have won the 2000 Senate race in New York by a landslide. He was loved by New Yorkers. He was a New Yorker. He's the
He
son.
was royalty.
He was royalty.
He was
He's
the
royal
prince.
blood.
He was the Prince of Camelot.
Yes. And I mean, how can you forget the picture? I saw it again, the video footage of it again, where he's saluting his dad's casket.
Yeah, and he was like 3 or something. He was real young.
Yeah, and I thought about my son because he's 3.5.
He's about the same age as JFK Jr. was at the time, and threw up the salute, and it was just heartbreaking.
Yeah, just crushing. So now, fast forward to now, him and his wife and another friend, the 2000's coming up on him. I mean, he's right there, possible election. And certainly, I would almost be certain that he would have crushed Hillary Clinton. She didn't have no experience. She's unlikable. She's just unlikable.
Yeah, and he didn't even have to open his mouth. He just had to just
Could
smile
you imagine
and
seeing,
wave. And
could you imagine seeing those two go head-to-head in a debate?
Yeah, I do remember a couple of interviews a long time ago, shortly before he died, where he would just pop in on, whatever cable channel that was showing the news that day. And, he's very normal person, likable person. And
suave.
And very handsome.
Yeah, beautiful. He's a beautiful man.
Yeah.
So anyway, on July 16th, 1999, at 9:20 p.m., JFK Jr. called the radio tower and just told him, say, hey, we're getting close, Martha's Vineyard, getting close to landing, and I'm just calling in to whatever you do to call in and say, I'm getting ready to land, do I have permission to land? And they said, sure, yeah, no problem. I guess he's coming in for landing. And shortly after that, aircraft exploded.
Yeah, somehow
the aircraft exploded.
Did it explode? I just know that they crashed into the water.
The documentary that I saw about this said that the aircraft exploded.
Was it one of them conspiracy theorists?
It had the computer.
Well, what we know now compared to what we thought we knew back then, it makes sense, especially with the timing. It cleared the decks for Hillary Clinton to be elected senator.
5 hours after the crash, Clinton team sent out a search team. No photos, no locator boxes removed, flight log removed, black box disabled. FBI said in a report that there was definitely foul play. Kennedy was cremated.
Definitely foul play?
That's FBI.
Wow, I did not know that.
Kennedy was cremated quickly against the wishes of his family.
I was going to say...
and they were furious about it.
The Kennedys, I'm not sure about JFK Jr., but I do know that the Kennedys back in the 60s, it was one of the biggest well-known things about them. It was a controversial thing at the time. Seems silly now, but back then it was very controversial that he was Catholic. The whole family was Catholic,
right,
and that he was going to be the first Catholic president of the United States. So I'm a new Catholic, but I don't know of any Catholics that get cremated. It's not completely uncommon. Or it's not. I don't know if it's prohibited, but it's definitely rare. So it's kind of seems a little odd to me that a Catholic would get cremated.
But it was against the wishes of the family.
And against the wishes of the family.
Salon.com, who we know is a rag, just
total propaganda.
Yeah, published an article without evidence that blamed the Clintons, which is ironic. Wow.
It's shocking because they would be totally in bed with the Clintons.
And this was kind of weird point. The Clintons arranged a naval funeral for him. He never served in the Navy.
That is weird.
You and I being in the military.
I would definitely raise the BS flag on that one.
Why?
For sure.
Okay, say that my son dies, God forbid, and we give him a military funeral.
What? Yeah, no, that doesn't work.
I would know.
Yeah, I don't understand that. He didn't serve.
No.
I know. I mean, his dad, his brother, and his JFK and Joe Kennedy and all that. All them people served, but
as far as I know, he never served. But that was the odd thing about this throwing the flag on this. Anyway, folks, all I'm trying to do is bury the Clintons. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah, and what it boils down to is Hillary Clinton killed a lot of people in her day, and apparently JFK was one of them, right? That's what we're speculating.
Well,
I mean, there's a pattern developing here. Is what we're getting down to. What are you looking up?
It says JFK Jr. not eligible for Arlington burial.
Not eligible?
I don't know what that's.
You have to be eligible for it?
Arlington Cemetery?
I didn't know there was an eligibility process.
Well, that's where all the military.
It's a lot of military, but I didn't know it was specifically, exclusively military. But I imagine it would be, I don't know. It seemed like it would be a little difficult for just an average Joe to get buried at Arlington, but.
Oh, that's right. And then the remains were put out to sea, so it's all done.
Yikes!
All done.
Yeah,
thank you, Clintons. I mean, that's Clinton machine for you. I mean, she could have probably just asked him, "Don't run. I want to run." I mean, they could have paid him. He probably wasn't taking the money. That's probably why.
Did he definitely say he was running for sure? Because I can't even remember if he had said I'm definitely running or not.
In the piece that I watched, they said it was still unclear if he was going to mount a. But it was coming down to the wire. He had to.
Were you going to talk about Charlie Rose? Since we're coming down to the wire.
Yeah. What do you want to talk? What do you want?
Well,
to say
he's
about
just
Charlie Rose?
one more person that in the long list of Democrats that are accused of all kinds of sexual deviancy and all that kind of stuff, which I just find so funny because he was one of the people that was reporting on all the sexual allegations of Donald Trump at the time when he was running in the general election this past 2016. And here it was, he was just pretty much doing projecting his own sexual misdeeds and sexual harassment and all this kind of crazy stuff.
Pretty much.
I look at Charlie Rose and I think, oh, this guy you don't have to worry about. He's like 250 years old.
Right, but apparently he's walking around the office with his pants off.
Well, when you get to a certain age,
Right.
sometimes you don't even notice that stuff.
When you hit a hunch, pretty much the draws don't even stay up no more.
Right, that's why
they're
you
over the
see
belly.
them over the belly, because that way kind of the belt will hold it up. And if it drops below that belly, it could just come all the way to the ankles.
Right.
And it's very possible that could have been what happened.
Right.
And now you got women coming out saying that that's a problem. And he said, his response was, oh, I didn't know she didn't like that. He actually said that. That was his actual. Yes, that was his response.
Oh, my goodness.
As far as I know, this was all consensual.
Wow. See,
yeah.
she never gave me the heads up on that. She never gave me the heads up on what was going on. Hey, folks, you're really tempting me to talk about this corporation thing. First and foremost, for a corporation to vote or to not vote, but to donate money to a political party, it's because they are classified, labeled as a person.
Okay.
A corporation is labeled as a person with its own social security number called a tax ID. So if you want corporations to stop donating to political parties, then you're going to have to completely change the corporate system, which ain't nobody going to go for.
Well, and the problem with here's the problem. The problem and the reason why, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the reason why corporations are considered a person is because if you don't, then that opens up the gates, the floodgates or whatever, Pandora's box, if you will, to say that, well, a corporation or a business as a corporation is not entitled to or protected by the Bill of Rights because
or any law, any real laws.
Well, laws that are subject to people,
right?
And so that a company can't come out and say something that would be protected by freedom of speech or whatnot, or have certain due process because it's not a person or not equivalent to a person. So I think it's at some point, and there was actually a landmark Supreme Court decision at some point during America's history where that was the big question. Is a corporation considered a person, or should it be considered a person or not? And the Supreme Court came down and said, yes, it was. And I think that was a big part of it, was that we want to make sure that the corporation itself is afforded the same kind of rights that a person has per the Constitution.
S Corp stands for stupid. Don't ever file an S Corp. Don't take advice from a CPA and don't file an S Corp. I'm just telling you right now.
But if it's stupid, why does it even exist? There has to be some good reason to have an S Corp.
Yeah, it's to get stupid people to pay more money.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, just file a C Corp and leave it at that.
Okay.
Walk away.
C Corp and walk away.
C Corp and walk away.
That is your business advice for the day.
You pay tax on where the money lands.
Okay.
And you pay tax on your money. So if you got credit cards at the end of the year or you want a new car, get that all done before you file taxes. And you don't file no tax.
Oh, okay, so it's like a 501c3.
Not only that, but this year, Donald Trump said you buy new equipment for your business, you write it off on your tax this year, not next year.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So anyways, don't get me started on that. And then you got anything you want to say about LaBall?
Oh, LeVar Ball. He said LaBall. LaBall.
LeVar
Ball.
I even tweeted out LaBall.
Well, I'm surprised he hasn't blocked me yet because every time I rag on him, which it's not going to stop.
No.
I feel like I'm part of the karma that's got to get him.
Sweet.
You know, but I always tag his actual Twitter handle whenever I rag on him because I want him to see it.
Right.
And I'm just waiting. I'm bracing for the day that he blocks me. And I'm not harassing him or anything like that. But one thing I pledged to do as soon as I read all about this story was to make sure that he knows that every single thing that happens between him and his son, the one that was freed from China,
facing 10 years of prison
by Donald Trump, that everything that he does with his son, that he enjoys with his son, every moment he has with his son for the next 10 years, that he can thank Donald Trump, whether he says it out of his mouth or not. I will remind him myself.
And the success of or if he reaps rewards from his business.
Yeah.
If his son takes over his business.
What if his son has a child and gives him a grandchild? He can thank Donald Trump for that. I mean, everything. And I even pointed out the residuals. What if his son goes on to make millions and millions of dollars and he gets to go have grill outs on the holidays with his son in some big mansion somewhere, which I'm sure he has his own mansion.
5 to 7 years, anything's possible.
All of that stuff, all the residuals from having his son free and having his son available to visit and to, just be with,
Right.
He can thank Trump for that, and whether he likes it or not, I'm going to remind him of that. And then, of course, we found out this week that LeVar Ball was the guy who publicly stated that the reason UCLA lost in the Sweet 16 last March, remember March Madness, NCAA tournament with the college basketball teams, his two sons both played for UCLA. There are 5 starters or 5 people that play on the basketball court at the time. Apparently his 2 sons were the only 2 black starters. The other 3 were white. And so when they lost in the Sweet 16, he stated to the press that the reason they lost was because his 3 other teammates on the court were white. And white guys are slow and blah, blah, blah. And he went into this big racist tirade. I remember the story, but I never would have remembered that it was the same guy until my dad pointed that out to me. And I said, "Oh my gosh, we gotta talk about that." So that is the case.
White guys can't jump.
Well, LeVar said they can't run.
They can't run or jump.
It's just too slow.
As somebody said, stupid autocorrect. Yes, it is LeVar Ball. LeBall. Autocorrect will get you on that, but it is LeBall.
LeVar.
I love the support I get for LeBall.
Whatever.
It's my thing. I like making fun of people. And it lastly but not leastly, Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Did she make a pecan pie?
She did make a chocolate pecan pie.
Ooh, chocolate. I hate pecan pie, but if it's chocolate,
And I loved the bashing of her and trying to hate on her for being fake. Come to find out, lo and behold, my girl making it happen.
Who?
Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Yeah.
She really did make what turned out to be an absolutely beautiful and incredible chocolate pecan pie.
Mm-hmm.
And she was very humble about it. And the joke they were making was on her humility.
Oh, so it was like a humble pie.
Now that she was being very humble about it, she's like, I don't bake very often.
It looked like a professionally done picture, like everything. It was like perfect, which is why people were accusing her of just grabbing a stock photo. Like if you searched pecan pie on Google, that's the picture that would show up. It looks like a professionally done stock photo of a pecan pie.
Right. And thank you. I want to thank you very much for the photo that was put together for Smith Radio. What an incredible photo.
You mean the banner?
Yeah, the banner.
Yeah. She's freaking out because you put on there that Miss MAGA was going to be a guest on here. Then you put.
I thought she was.
No, that's the producer, Miss MAGA. You're
right.
Yeah. That's my excuse anyway.
Oh,
so
Miss MAGA.
She's always with us.
She's always there.
Yes.
If you guys ever know that there's no sound, we get the hint. She bangs on the wall. We know we've got no sound.
Yeah. We would not know without.
Hey, after the show, folks, I'm going to play this a tribute sound, new song from a country western singer, tribute to our veterans, and that be all. Fast 3 hours you're going to spend anywhere. Share this with your friends, your family, folks. Everybody know. Check us out on smithradio.com. Crush the Patreon button. Crush the new T-shirts button. Oh, and we're going to put together a 2018 calendar. Keep an eye out for the new calendar, folks. We'll get it ready for Christmas presents. Send your friends and family. Smith Radio calendars.
See you guys next week.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable.